In a world of remakes and remasters,
Are we playing for
what was once sacred and cool has now soured and become lame.
Red?
Gone are the days of Pons and Cowabunga. Now is the reign of slurp juice and dabs. Kids these days don't even know how bad they've got it. Now it's up to the best generation to rise to the occasion and make a show that dares to go where a lot of other nerdy shows have already gone quite a bit. That's right. They're going to talk about it a lot.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. This is Best Gen, where nerds complain about nerdy things, and it's called Best Gen because we're all roughly the same age from the same gen, and we think that it's better than your gen, or who if you might be the same gen if you're watching this. I don't actually. Yeah, my viewership range is pretty much the same age, but anyway, we don't think we're better than you. We think our movies were so. Strap on
echo
in.
Chamber.
Yeah,
We're
echo
a good
chamber.
echo chamber. Yeah,
Exactly. Strap on in. Prepare to wax nostalgic as we reminisce upon the days of yore and complain about the utter filth that drips out of the sludge pipe of modern Hollywood. We've got a wonderful guest today, Dane Bornholt from the White Cloaks.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Tech.
Congratulations to your channel not being sued. The White Cloaks were in a similar situation that I am currently in and had their copyright strike to their episode 1 video that dropped a month ago. But everything's clear. Everything's clear now.
We got a shout out from Shad on that video. Alex did a great job editing. A lot of filthy humor and jokes, and I know they probably want to take down my drunk streams, but I honestly don't know how to run video on these things, so I'm avoiding copyright strikes. All I do is put up still frames, so it's a low-tech solution to their high-tech evil strategy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I kind of feel like Alex took some inspiration from my Devoid of Logic videos with that video and his editing style, but it's good.
You know what?
It's not patented.
Plagiarism is the most sincere form of flattery.
It is really.
Yeah.
But everyone's gonna think he got the idea first because my video is still in limbo. Thanks for joining us tonight. I see a whole bunch of people in the chat. Jacob Ironside, Mark Clark, our wonderful channel member. If you want to become a channel member, it's only 99 cents. It really helps in these situations where my channel is completely delisted and YouTube doesn't promote it at all because Amazon sucks. So, we're still, I think there are technically 3 days left that Amazon has to decide if they're going to sue me or release the claim on my video. It's, gosh.
Yeah. What are big two options, right?
Yeah, but we're not alone. They're doing it to lots of people like the White Cloaks, and they have no standing. And apparently YouTube looks into it once you've filed a counterclaim. They look into abuse. They're very quick to respond on Twitter if you complain, but then it's always the same copy paste. Oh yeah, no, we look into it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They always say you gotta contact the chat, the chat bot.
We've got Nerdporial Lifeform in the chat, who's Golden Girls Wheel of Time parody video also got another one of my streams completely demonetized. There's 10 days left on that dispute. Gosh, I've literally had for the last month and a half, 2 months, every single video I've posted has been either demonetized by Amazon or something else.
It's unbelievable.
And it's just exclusively to Wheel of Time.
Yeah.
And it's not just like
Disney struck. Oh, it wasn't a strike; it was a claim. Disney didn't like my Ahsoka video.
But Disney usually claims, because of copyright.
That one was quickly resolved.
Yeah.
We got Gadfly Fiction. I already mentioned Mark Lug. We got, I guess Pips isn't here anymore, but he showed up. Thanks for showing up. Mule, Jonathan R. Thank you for joining the show. We've got a whole lot to talk about. Wheel of Time. There's a whole bunch of really bad takes on Twitter that I wanted to talk about that just really expose like the mentality of the show shills and the just complete hypocrisy. And Nerdporial, thanks for the $2. Here's some penance. I'll take responsibility. No, I don't blame you at all.
Before Brian kind of showed up, I think all of us were just happy in monetized land. Let's blame it all on him.
No, it's funny. His video,
a bigger channel than all of us.
His video is fine. His video had no problems, and I played his video on my show, and it got demonetized.
Fuck. you know who I honestly feel the worst about for all this? It's the Sword and the Pen. She's blown up, and I think a lot, like she did Shadow and Bone first, but I think her channel took off kind of with Wheel of Time. But she was not a book fan. She decided to start reading and watching at the same time, and just watching her review. Like she's giving generous takes early on, but then she just kind of descends into absolute loathing for the TV show, and she just basically reached some level of notoriety. And then, innocent as she was, didn't realize what was going on. She started getting copyright claims up the wazoo.
Yep.
And she was re-editing her videos like 8 or 9 times. Each time she's doing that, it takes like hours to upload.
It doesn't matter. That's what I'm like. Everyone's like, oh, you could put like a filter on. You could reverse it or make. I'm like, it doesn't matter.
You cannot get away with reversing or putting filters. You have to literally put black or blank spaces between the video, so it's completely you completely destroy it, but still then it's not a guarantee that it's going to work.
This is great. The no bad publicity thing is a total lie, and we know for a fact that we have made a difference, and they learned it from Rings of Power. That was more widespread, right? But they think they can still silence opposition for Wheel of Time because the audience is way smaller, and we're going to get into it tonight, baby.
But this is what I think is the most pernicious aspect of it. Is there are YouTubers out there like you, like Sword and the Pen, like the Renaissance Nerd, and others that are trying to actually do something and build their channels and grow, and they realize that people like that don't want to take a risk with their channel with a copyright strike, and they might take the video down.
Yep. Now, it's terrifying. At
least the three of us,
scary.
We couldn't give 2 shits about our fucking channel. Because honestly, if they decided to like strike it to hell and it was completely gone, we'll like download all the videos or whatnot. We'll create a different one. We'll ping everyone in the Discord. Hey, join this one instead. We'll have basically all of our subscribers back. And guess what? Yeah. We don't make any money off of this, and we don't need to because we have fucking jobs.
Yeah, that's a luxury I don't have. But I'm still willing to take a stand with you.
Oh, well, that's what's amazing about it, right? Because like I understand other people who basically be like, I need to preserve the channel, and this is not a fight I want to pick, or what if they do decide to sue me, right? And now I'm looking at a legal bill or something like that.
GoFundMe, baby. That's my plan.
That's one route. The other route is I have a lawyer, so I'll just make him look at it.
Well, I'll use yours.
This is pretty expensive. It's worth it. I'll write a fucking letter to the shareholders of AMP or the board of directors as a shareholder.
Yeah.
Like it's in one of my investment funds anyway. So like,
Nastro says he's read the book
Shareholder
series
rights.
multiple times and can't get past season 1. Tried really hard to like the show. Yeah.
I'm sorry, Nastro. It's too bad.
And Nerdporial covers multiple things. Yeah. I tried. I don't have a whole lot of time on my hands right now, but I just there's no preamble for this. I just got to get to this Twitter tweet. This X Zeet. Is it a Zeet now? Is that what they're called? I like Elon Musk, but man, renaming it X was a dumb move.
Yeah.
Like Twitter X. That would have been better.
Yes.
And the URL is still Twitter. If I want to get to X, I have to type in Twitter on my computer because, yes, I primarily use Twitter on my computer.
Yeah, me too.
One of the fun things, though, if it is a Zeet, is we could basically thumbs up or thumbs down, and then we'll tell you, like, hey, tech, yeet that Zeet.
Yep.
I'm here all week.
Twitter X was a good idea for the subscription base. In my opinion, yeah, but the name itself is not that good at all. I hate it. It's cheating. Now it's called.
I don't know how to refer to
exceeding.
it. Like, I'm going to go get on X. Like, what does that mean?
It sounds like
maybe
a bad site.
Maybe it will eventually become part of the lexicon, but it sounds like a porn site.
It sounds like a naughty site. Yeah, it sounds like a naughty site.
Well, it's 2X is too short for that.
Yeah, you have to be economical with the language. Yeah.
In all honesty, though, this could just be like a Coke marketing thing. Remember, like Coke in the 80s came out with a new recipe and everyone hated it and shit on Coca-Cola for like 6 months. And then they brought back the original recipe and then it was better than ever. Maybe Elon's like a fucking marketing genius and he'll just be like, this was a mistake. We're going back to original Twitter. And then everyone's like, thank goodness.
And instead of a regular bird, it's going to be like when Angel changes his regular wings into like iron wings, like freaking metal wings.
Yeah, I get that. Cool. I get that it's a branding thing, but it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. Okay. I was gonna make a point and I forgot. That's okay. Here's some tweeters. So what I think is hilarious is all of the show shills are saying that this is the next Game of Thrones. And then the same people are saying, wow, it's so interesting that there's an actual conversation about, is the Wheel of Time the next Game of Thrones? And that when there's an actual Game of Thrones spinoff in production that already has its first season, and second out? No. Does she not know the second season is not out? Whatever. Like that, like maybe Game of Thrones didn't satisfy his audience. Yes, the finale of Game of Thrones was very disappointing. Okay. But you don't get to create the conversation and then say, wow, can you believe that people are talking? Yes, you are talking about it and no one else. And I love the White Cloaks' response was Game of Thrones was rewatched more than Wheel of Time was watched during the same time period. Because of the sequel, Game of Thrones got more numbers rewatched. That's crazy.
500 million is a lot of people, yeah.
Yeah, and of course, this the self-reporting. Who knows if it's real, right? But this one is more funny. So, just to show that the Wheel of Time is definitely not the next Game of Thrones, with episode 6, which in everyone's and I agree is the strongest episode of the season.
Yeah, it's at like 1. Whereas the rest
because to my shock and surprise, it adapted one scene from the books
10 times.
Right? There was finally a single scene that was adapted. Great. Yes, it's probably the strongest episode so far. and the strongest universally, even the show, even people who hate it can acknowledge this one was slightly better. With the strongest episode yet, it's dropped from the top spot on Amazon Prime to the second spot.
What is even known right now in the Amazon Prime?
Which is already a dumb thing to brag about. Like the Wheel of Time's official Twitter was saying, the Wheel of Time show is the #1 show on Amazon Prime. Well, duh! Of course it's the only show currently airing on Amazon Prime. Of course it's the #1 show on Amazon Prime right now. And it can't even do that for the whole run. It's #2 now. I don't know what #1 is. I probably should have looked that up.
Well, give me a second. I can look that up.
Yeah, look it up.
Gay freaking show.
But this is a genuine. I love that this
Angry
is coming.
Mex, you're going to have to be more specific about that because Wheel of Prime is also really, really gay.
I love that this is coming from Uno's eye patch on Twitter, who should be very upset at the show for killing off Uno.
Yeah.
But his response is, don't forget to keep those view counts up. Even if you can't bring yourself to rewatch episode 6, leave it playing in the background. These are the people who think that review bombing is real. Like, are you joking?
I think the Continental from the world of John Wick is.
Is that airing right now, or is it done?
Not yet.
That's what my Prime says is #1 right now, and #2 is Wheel of Prime. And #3 is Wilderness.
It's the Continental. It's
the Continental. You're right.
A show I had no idea was even out yet beat Wheel of Time.
But it was not out when this tweet was posted, because right back there in the second tweet it says, to be honest, I'm expecting it dropped even more with the Continental airing. So when the Continental air is going to drop even more. This is data before the Continental drop, right?
So what was #1? Like it's insane. It's crazy. This is such a hard cope.
Here's the other thing. All right, so the Nielsen ratings, we're still a week away of getting the premiere week for Wheel of Prime.
Right, but Nielsen ratings for streaming makes no sense to me, because that's not how Nielsen ratings work, but go on.
But, well, it tells you how many minutes have been viewed, right? And you can at least look at the overall, and you can look at the original
but
category.
with streaming, we should know the exact numbers. Nielsen ratings is an estimation, right?
Maybe
they send people a box, and they do polling to say, like, how like, that's how they got numbers for old TV shows. It was actually an aggregate average for percentages,
statistical method, and we should be able to get the actual.
It's probably accurate, but for streaming numbers, we should know the real numbers.
Except that would require all of the streaming services basically agreeing to a standard and opening up kind of the views that they have. So
the covenant,
but
is that the Wonder Woman movie? I don't know. Yeah, sorry, you were making a point and I interrupted you.
So numbers. We're at the week prior to the Wheel of Prime premiere, and there isn't a single Amazon show in the top 10. Who is Aaron Carter is first, and that's a Netflix show that has almost 1 billion minutes, or just over 1 billion minutes. Ashoka was second for Disney. Then for the rest, it's Netflix and Hulu, all the way down. Futurama is in 10th place with 335 million minutes. So,
and that's the rebooted season, right? There's a whole new Futurama.
But again, the other thing you have to keep in context with all these originals is just the amount of episodes that already exist. So Futurama is obviously getting a benefit from, I heard Futurama is getting rebooted. I haven't watched that since whenever.
So it's counting the old episodes too.
Yeah.
Which, to be fair, is what Game of Thrones benefited from. There was an entire 8 seasons to go rewatch. But people wanted to do it. You could have went and rewatched a Wheel of Time season 1 in preparation for season 2.
We did that,
and no one did.
No, we did it. We just paused it every 5 seconds to make fun of it, and it took us.
I was going to say
took us about 9 months.
You'd have to do like a Mystery Science Theater 3000 sort of thing for the first season.
That's exactly what we did, dude.
Yeah.
You go to our we even have the overlay at the bottom.
Really?
Yeah, and we had our theater seats, and then
That's
Pips
hilarious.
got very creative in one where I basically drank so much I had to go up and go to the washroom, so I bugged out for 5 minutes, and he had my little Dane Bornhold avatar get up and then walk across the screen.
No way.
To leave, and then came back. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Honest to God.
Way to go.
And every single time we had a different guest on, and we got them their avatars, and we did a shadow cut out of them too. So it changes from every episode. It's great.
That's impressive.
I didn't realize it was Guy Ritchie's The Covenant. I did see that trailer and it looks good, and I like Guy Ritchie, so I'll watch that. I haven't seen his last like 3 movies. Guy Ritchie.
When he made a movie for Madonna, I kind of checked out. But
which one was that?
Swept Away, I think.
I like his editing style. I think it's fun.
Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels is still one of the greatest films ever made.
It's pretty good. Yeah. The gem I ran into today is claiming that Showman is so much better than Bookman, which boiled down to Twitter of Time is happy that she isn't connected to Rand.
I saw this on our Discord. Vendel's right. So I'm still convinced half these people are trolling in that they're trying to pretend to be show shills in order to get other show shills to agree with egregious positions.
I don't know. Like
I wouldn't have the patience for it, but I also don't want to engage with these people. But
yeah, we had the conversation about oh no, did we talk on stream or was this before we started, where we talked about like integrity and being willing to put your channel on the line?
Dude, you're the Mormon. I'm drunk, so
no. Well, because I was trying to segue. It was a bad segue. I was trying to segue into Daniel Green, who, for a brief flicker, when episode 1 aired, had a good take where he criticized the show.
Was it the double penetration scene that he didn't like?
No, he tweeted when season 2 started. He tweeted out, book 2 has one of the most amazing openings of any book. Like, it starts off with a bang and sets up a whole bunch of stuff and does, sets up the book really well. And season 2 of Amazon's Wheel of Time decided to do none of that. A whole bunch of show fans jumped down his throat, and he immediately retracted. And now,
what's he saying here?
This is the ultimate straw man argument. Criticizing us. I can't believe they're making Wheel of Time all about women. The books are literally more female POV than male, and Jordan explicitly stated, due to what happened to the power, the world became more of a matriarchy. Wheel of Time has always played with gender and gender norms. Yeah. And also the 3 main characters were men. Like this, we're not upset that there are women in the Wheel of Time. Yes. If you look at the breakdown of point of view chapters throughout the whole series, I believe it's like 60-40 women to men.
Yeah, but that balance only shifts towards the later books. So the first book is almost exclusively Rand al'Thor. There's like 3 Nynaeve chapters and a few Perrin ones.
Book 2 has like 1 or 2 Perrin and Matt chapters as well. And then book 3 is where it starts to branch out and gives the girls some point of views.
Book 3 is where Rand gets sidelined, right?
Yes.
But Jordan does that deliberately, where basically Rand is he yeets off. He's basically bugs out.
And it works.
It works brilliantly.
It works because you got Rand pretty much exclusively for 2 books.
Yep.
And now you're like, wait, where did he go?
Time, let's introduce everybody else. And exactly. And that's why I really hate it when people are saying, oh, well, you can combine books 2 and 3 because they basically tell the same stories. No, they don't.
No.
One of them is Rand's story doing the journey. And yeah, okay, the endings might be a little similar because it's the same big bad.
It's the same bad guy and they kind of fight. Yeah, sure. There are similarities.
But they're completely different stories. and the biggest difference is who the book follows, because The Great Hunt is still primarily a Rand-centric story, and The Dragon Reborn is following Perrin. Matt gets his first POV chapters. Egwene and Nynaeve are central to it finally. And if anything, Rand's absence from the story is the central defining feature of that book.
Yeah, I loved The Dragon Reborn. I loved that it did it, but it wouldn't have worked if that was book one, where like, hey, the main character is in the first chapter and then he leaves. He wouldn't be the main character, right? And also, this is not our argument. We're not upset that there are women in the Wheel of Time. Yes, this is true. It's a matriarchy, and a lot of people don't hate men. They hate men who can channel because they're responsible for the breaking of the world, right? And that's what the show doesn't understand. The show just hates men in general. But our argument is we're upset that you haven't given any of the three main characters any screen time, and we don't know them. Not that we're not upset that there are women in the Wheel of Time.
I'm upset that Leandrin has more lines than
I'm upset
put together, because she is a sidekick. She's barely. I don't even think she's ever a point of view. Well, no, she is a point of view.
I think she gets one. I think she gets one when she gets in trouble.
Yeah.
She has a scene with is it Mo Gideon?
Yeah.
That's definitely from her perspective. Maybe it's from Mo Gideon's perspective. I don't know.
No, it's from Leandrin's perspective. You get inside her head a little bit. Like there's some other kind of
yes, because she tries to use compulsion on Mo Gideon.
Yep.
Yes, you're right.
But she's the main character in this fucking show. I don't think anyone would have expected that. But anyways.
I love that we all knew what was going to happen, and it's finally confirmed that Leandrin is a victim of sexual abuse. So.
In game.
Sorry.
Who would have done that to her? Like, look at her fucking cheekbones. Makes no sense. You're just not going to go there. Okay, that's totally fine.
No, no, she's definitely a pass for me. And not even if I was drunk, and I never drink, because I'm Mormon.
That would be really funny.
Mark Clark, I did not know it was humanly possible to have a child. Yeah. No. She is hard to look at. And her acting is that's the thing. Her acting.
Are you sure it's a she, or is this one of those moments?
Who knows?
Like
Who knows? Everything's fluid. Everything's fluid now, including being good at acting, right? She's so over the top with all of her delivery. Like I just can't stand seeing her face. So here's more crazy takes. This isn't a bad take. It's someone just saying that the Wheel of Time doesn't know how to market at all because they didn't even know the show was released, and they're the target demographic. Yeah, Amazon sucks. It's not super important. Oh yeah, okay. This was the good one. The Wheel of Time fan edit, who's a cool guy. I wish he'd go a little bit harder on the show, but he wants to still be able to engage with show fans on Twitter, right? He pointed this is a great take. I'd completely forgotten about this Rafe Judkins tweet where he backhandedly insults the Wheel of Time season 6 through 8 for forgetting that
Game of Thrones, right?
Yeah, Game of Thrones. Sorry, I probably said the wrong thing. Yeah, this is his backhanded insult. This was before season 1 dropped, I believe. When people were asking for.
If that's from July 2020,
no, you're right. You're right. The date's right
after. There. But it's not like he did a good job in season 1. But
it was better than season 2, especially this episode. Holy crap! People are teleporting left and right. It makes no sense. I was shocked. And then he pointed out, "Hey, remember when you said this? That you're going to avoid doing the thing that this is way worse than what Game of Thrones did. Like the amount of teleporting that these people do just in this episode alone, but also this season.
But
it is so much worse than what Game of Thrones did.
Oh, all the messages that Perrin sends in the first episode is like a text message, right? He writes a letter and then it shows up 20 minutes later in the show, but he's like 2 months away.
Like he's on a hunt, right? Like who's he giving these letters
post
to?
Office or something, and the post office basically airmailed it.
But every town they've encountered has been murdered by Podon Fane, and they're following Podon supposedly for 6 months. They are chasing Podon Fane. What? Like, it's just so dumb.
Maybe they got their distances wrong, but then you also have characters say it's a long distance to travel to Fulma, so we'll come up with a plan in the meantime. And you're just like,
man, the amount of Leandrin has done so much teleporting. The Amerlin and everyone's trying to argue, well, maybe the timelines aren't in sync. No, because Lan connects all of the timelines.
Not Perrin's.
Okay, fine, not Perrin's, but all but one timeline.
Okay. But
Lan connects all of them. It doesn't make sense if they're not happening at the same time.
But Alan, here's the bigger issue, okay? I don't know if you watched my earlier reviews or seen it, but in the first episode of the season, they build the little lanterns again because it's Beltane.
Yes.
That implies that it's been a year since the first episode in season 1, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Because they started on Beltane,
so that means season 1 took 6 months.
Did it? Because it was like 5 days for them to get to Shadow Logoth.
There was the one episode where it skipped a month.
1 month, right?
Yeah.
So where are the other 5?
I don't know. Doesn't make sense.
Time gaps are very difficult. Yeah. Okay. Good job,
but
Brave.
They didn't need a time gap. Like,
it
says
it
doesn't look.
They didn't need to do the lanterns. They just wanted to do the lanterns again, and they thought, our fucking audience is idiots, so they won't notice.
I presume the idea, maybe the time gap was, hey, let's do the lanterns again, but also so that we don't have to jump into like White Tower tutorial stuff. Except that the girls haven't done any White Tower training. It's 6 months in, and they're just barely starting their training. So, like, what was it? It doesn't make sense.
Couple of points on the White Tower training. I made this joke already. So sorry for people who've seen me already mention this, but you had the novice number 1 who barely answered what the 5 different flows were.
Right. You couldn't get the answer right. The most it's
water.
not a hard question. What are the 5 elements?
All right. Here's another thing that'll blow your mind. I don't think Egwene knows what Aes Sedai means. Because she asks it, and Nynaeve tells her it means servants of all, and Nynaeve knows it because Stefan told her. But Nynaeve only told Egwene that in her alternate reality Dream Quest vision, which turned out not to be true. So Egwene doesn't know what Aes Sedai means. I think we can operate under that assumption. And then finally, in this last episode,
here's the discrepancy. The 5 months was Nynaeve learning how to sword fight and Egwene making a blanket.
So Elaine could recognize it. But here's the other one from the
Why does everyone recognize the 2 rivers? No one's even supposed to know it exists except for tobacco. They're like, oh, that is a thing because that's where we get the good tobacco.
Their textiles, their accents, and the jewelry that parents.
I'm pretty sure they had an Aiel say, "Oh, hey, are you wearing a 2 Rivers shirt?" Sorry, you were making a point.
So the third thing, and this is from this last episode, is where Nynaeve says to the Rima Aes Sedai that Leandrin's Black Aja, and then she broke the 3 oaths, and then Elaine says every one of them. Except Leandrin hasn't broken all 3 of the oaths.
No, she's lied, and she's used the power as a weapon.
But she hasn't made a weapon.
She hasn't made a weapon with the power. I guess unless you count Damani, maybe.
Our novices haven't learned anything. They don't know what Aes Sedai means.
They don't know what the
three O's
are.
The 3 O's, and they don't know
They
barely know the 5 different flows of the one power. And
it's been 6 months plus or minus 5 months that we don't know what happened to. I guess they're saying it took 5 months to get to the tower, and then
no. Even that doesn't work, because then you have Matt saying he hasn't touched the dagger in 6 months.
You're right. So oh my gosh.
So from episode 6, where Matt bugged out or got healed from the dagger, it's still only 6 months.
Right.
So you can only allot 1 month for them to go from Faldara back to Tarvalon.
I love how ham-fisted the bringing Swan Sanche back into the story in this episode is. They couldn't have just waited 1 season, to have their wonderful Swan Sanche.
Alex made the point. It's like, why is she only in this for 2 episodes? Is because she was filming Death on the Nile, probably. She had better work to do.
Lan encounters them.
Sucked.
Lan finds her on the road.
With how big of an escort did she have?
I don't know. It was like 3 people on horseback.
Yeah, she had a 4-horse carriage with a driver and 2 outriders.
I love that you hear it cuts to her inside and like, don't approach. And then the next thing you see is Lan having approached. And you're like, hello. Wouldn't he be dead? Like, there was no conversation. Hey, I'm Lan, you know me? Like, it was just, if you step forward, you're going to die. And then it cut to him having stepped forward and not being dead.
Well, to me, that scene just basically spoke of it being cheap, right? We needed a scene of her on the road. So let's get 6 horses together and 3 other people in a carriage. And that'll be good enough. Whereas Swan Sanche in the books, I think she only officially travels to Faldara and back. And with that, it was a major procession with like 14 other Aes Sedai, all of their warders, a bunch of the Tower Guard, banners.
So she had to go back to the White Tower and then all the way back to Falm. Okay.
Well, it mentions the 14 Aes Sedai and everything too later in that episode. She's like,
why does she need
last time you had 14 Aes Sedai with you?
Why are they doing this now?
Well, it's in the books. They got to have her meet Rand. It's like, oh, okay, well, shoot.
But Rand isn't there. She's going to meet Egwene or Moraine.
No, I know, but Rand's in that same city.
But no, he's not.
Yeah, he is, because he just met with
Lan stopped him from leaving.
Okay. So there's right. Okay. See, I thought they went to Falma, but they went to the.
Yet.
Okay.
They went to something that looked like Falma or to the kennels in the dream. But
I mentioned this last week. Did you notice, not this episode, but 1 episode ago, they reused the Shadow Logoth Tarvalon set for Caemlyn?
No, because they didn't show Caemlyn yet.
Not Caemlyn. The what's the town Rand's in?
Kyrian.
Did they use it for Kyrian?
It's not. Kyrian. He's in like the Watchtower. What's the name of the city that Rand is in banging Serene? It's Kyrian? But he's in like an offshoot of Kyrian.
He's in the Foregates. So he's in the slums.
They showed a scene in the Foregates that was reusing the set that they reused twice in season 1.
Par for the course.
The Foregate.
Right.
Thanks.
I'm gonna grab another drink.
Okay. There's more tweeters. This is great. They the cast posted this wonderful pic to promote the show. Tell me if anything jumps out at you. Don't look at my shoot. The spoilers right there. Don't look. There we go. It's covered up.
I was just gonna say they're missing somebody.
Where's Rand?
Yep.
Where's Rand, everybody? Life imitates art. Sorry I spoiled the joke with my anxiety responded and got 17 views because I don't know how to use Twitter. Did you see this one, Dane?
No, I don't like these people.
I know, but
I'm not on Twitter.
It's so funny. They posted this, hey, look, we're all hanging out. And I'm like, where's Rand?
Seriously.
Oh my
No,
god.
I mean, they need. No,
they
wait,
have like, who's
Where-
this? I don't know who this is. Is that Leandrin?
I was gonna say, is that
No.
Leandrin?
No, but look at her cheekbones. They're way too small.
So
I don't know who that is.
Ragnar, you got Matt, you got Avienda and Elaine. And
Egwene, Loyal,
who's it?
Nynaeve.
Is that Loyal and the Moo?
Yeah, that's Loyal.
Yeah, that's wild.
That might be like the if you got Ragnar in there, maybe that's like the Amanda Schumann, who's like the other writer
Could be
responsible for this abomination. Could be.
Yeah. This was another one. So even the show stands are having trouble justifying how poorly Lan has been treated this entire show, but mostly, especially this episode. But when I rewatched it, I gaslighted myself and I realized it's not that bad. The show's doing it on purpose. They're playing 3D chess. It was supposed to be crappy, guys. It's on purpose. No, really. Like these people have to lie to themselves in order to enjoy this show.
All right. If you guys haven't watched my reviews of this yet or comments that I made, I'm gonna blow your mind about this poem. Okay, because what did they establish when Maxim found the poem?
In the books?
No. There's no poem.
Oh, sorry.
Right.
So but there were like scribblings on the wall.
Yeah, there's in Trolloc script, right? So Trolloc script, that's one thing. It's a dark prophecy. Here they've changed it into Old Tongue, and it was somehow on a seal that was for.
Well, so apparently, Ishamael released Lanfear, and then she was covered in blood, and then used that to finger paint a poem telling everybody that she was alive.
See, even that doesn't make sense because the seal would already be shattered. So I think Bail Doman found the shattered seal, put it all back together, then found the poem, was able to it doesn't make sense. It doesn't.
It really doesn't make sense.
But this is going to get a whole bunch more insane because, in essence, Lan steals that poem and then
from
goes off from Moraine, but goes off with Maxim and Ivan and Alana. And then Maxim sees, Lan try and hide it. And then Maxim brings Alana to go look at the poem. And then they read it and they realize almost immediately that it's a poem that refers to Lanfear. And Lan must not know that. Right?
No, when they say that, though, they're saying we can't tell Rand we can't tell Lan who it's about. So they just assume that Lan is an idiot. But then the next scene in this episode, they're accusing him of knowing who it's about.
Well, but that latter one makes sense. The first one doesn't. And let me explain why. So they read the poem, which is in the Old Tongue. And they say, the daughter of night, she walks again, seeking her lover, yada, yada. Mm-hmm. We know Lan can read or can, speak the Old Tongue because he translates for Nynaeve in the first season. But
right,
you guys
and he's from Malkir, yeah.
He's got some smattering of the Old Tongue. Do you know how to say the daughter of night in the Old Tongue?
No.
Lanfear.
Right. No, I remember. Oh, right. Oh gosh. Oh.
That's good stuff.
Because that's where she gets her name from.
That's literally what her name means. And here's the thing. It's not like the show is unaware of this.
Oh my gosh.
It's not like the writers or anyone was unaware of this because Ishamael at the very start of the episode, he chants that poem.
And he says Lanfear.
And he says Lanfear. And then you hear a voiceover as well when they're reading it. And you hear Ishamael repeat the poem. where Lanfear is mentioned again. And then it clued on me, and I was like, wait a second, Daughter of Night means Lanfear in the Old Tongue.
It does.
And here's Maxim saying, Lan must not know who it's about. And I'm like, how does he not know who it's about? Because it says Lanfear on the poem that's written in the Old Tongue that he has. So the only thing that makes sense is Lan can't read.
But then also, why do they immediately accuse him of being a dark friend if they assume he's illiterate and doesn't even know that he's delivering a message to Lanfear or whatever?
Yeah, that whole scene is just weird.
What are they even trying to imply? Like, what kind of conclusion are they jumping to? Lan has a letter that, but it's not addressed to Lanfear, or it wouldn't give her any information. It's something about her, and the assumption is that means he's a dark friend working for her.
Here's the only thing where my mind goes: either like somewhere along the road, Lan demonstrated his literacy, and then they're like, okay, obviously he's literate, therefore he knows what this is about, or something. Or they drew a connection between Lan, L-A-N, and Lanfear, L-A-N-F-E-R.
Right. So he was named after her.
The obvious. They must be the same team.
You know what it was, Dane. They were testing him. And he was testing. That's what it was. They had to make sure he had to make sure that they were trustworthy, and he wanted them to find that poem. It's the only explanation, guys.
So
if you missed the firestorm,
this whole plot doesn't make sense, because logistically, what did Lan? So Lan is we see him at the start of episode 1, and he's doing Tai Chi or whatever, this sword shirtless at the Alamo. He goes back, and then a horny old woman wants him to take his pants off, and he doesn't. He acts as a secretary for Moron for her Bail Doman appointment. Then they get into a fight about getting her dinner, and he capitulates. He chases off after Moron at the end of the episode, saves her from some Murdral, but ultimately fails. He internalizes said failure. Then by the second episode, he's basically passed off to Alana. Like, here you go, I don't need you anymore. And then they go on a day trip up to Arafel.
Yes. So they can chat about their feelings.
Family barbecue. Why? Like, it seems a long distance to go for a single day.
Yeah. These are the same people who had someone recognize the Horn of Valir from an unopened box with like no discerning like symbols or markings on it, just like an intricate like weavy thing. So if you missed it, the reason why that last tweet is a thing is because the Twitter of Time manufactured a racism. This happened all the time this week. They said, how come all of the white cloaks and all of the people who hate the show, how come all of them are saying, man, I wish Lan would have killed those 2 gay warders?
I didn't want that.
I haven't seen a single person actually say, I wish Lan would have killed them, because it would have proven that he was a great sword fighter.
No, I wanted the 2 gay warders to kill Lan at this point.
I've seen about 100 show stands say, wow, those bigots just wanted Lan to kill off the LGBTQRIA characters because they're bigots.
I want Lan to die at this point.
I know. But like, they had to manufacture a crisis. Yeah.
It didn't make sense at all.
This is the last tweet. This has been going around the Twitter of Time because it's a still from was this episode 1? Yeah, episode 1.
Yeah. It's where Lan Arya starts the Murdral.
Yeah, they love it so much. They're like, hey, let's use this as the meme, right? Ha ha ha. This is a great meme. Except it's so dumb. for a couple of reasons. You can see the guy's face, just a regular face.
That's why they filmed it so in the dark.
That's hilarious.
Also, where is Lan jumping from? Like, this is literally physically impossible.
Well, he's on ropes.
Right. But the arguments I saw were like, I can't see any ropes. He's a really good jumper. I saw there were show stands saying that on Twitter. It was like, they're painted out. It's a still from the show. They're not going to leave the ropes in the show. You morons.
Hope not.
And the other point is, it's physically impossible for this fade to stab Moraine from this position.
Well, he still needs to walk forward slowly, like 3 or 4 steps.
But his knife is already raised. He would have to fall over in a straight line for that sword to be able to connect with Moraine.
Yeah.
That's the distance he would have to travel. Anyway, this show's stupid.
That's great. I love it.
Here it is. Some people were speculating that Lan was going to kill one of them because in the books, Alana loses a warder. Foolish of them to think that they would follow any storylines.
That was Owen, and he was shot by White Cloaks in the Two Rivers, and she could do nothing about it. And it's somewhat of a tragedy. But Maxim is not a real character. Maxim is written into the show by his boyfriend, who runs the show.
Yeah.
Oh, so thanks for that, Rafe Judkins. You decided to take a better man's work and skin suit it in order to give your boyfriend work.
Yep.
I see what you did there.
We do. We see it.
And Maxim, the actor, he's such a victim now too, because of all of us hateful White Cloaks that apparently wanted him to die, but we really wanted him to kill Lan because we hate Lan more at this point.
But also, he can't produce a single receipt of anyone saying that or anyone ever sending him death threats.
I know. No one sent him death threats.
But he sent out a tweet saying that people sent him death threats. So it must be true.
Yeah, like he would have no motivation to lie about that. It's not like he's a piece of shit that would do something like that. These people are... Secretly, they want to be victims more than anything. Secretly, I think they want to get canceled and then be able to blame it on other people. But I'm like, good. I want you to be canceled too. And if you want to be a victim, cry me a river, piece of shit.
Was there?
You guys should know.
Yeah.
You guys should know. I actually truly loathe these people.
Mm-hmm.
And I said this in my first drunk stream. But it's when they started inserting all the gross sexuality and degeneracy into this thing.
Yeah.
Because there's one thing that Robert Jordan was on the record.
Yes, I've used that quote several times.
Yeah, not liking about elements of his fandom and asking them like either like don't do it. Like he wasn't a fan of fan fiction generally, right?
But even then he said, look, if you want to do fan fiction, just don't show me. Right, but it's fine.
Yeah, don't send it to me, and I can't. Copyright's one thing, but write your own stories is what he's really trying to get people to do. Like,
right?
Don't build off my thing. Like, if you want to be creative, get creative and write your own stuff. But the one thing he really didn't like was people writing erotica with his characters, and that's exactly what this show is basically doing. Yep. And it's doing it in the most disgusting way possible. And we know because there are quotes like we knew Robert Jordan was very particular about his IP generally, which is like the New Spring graphic novel, where he's basically a pain in the ass to work with. And he sends like an artist 20 emails about how Cadsuane's dress should look like.
Yeah.
If that's how particular he was about appearances of a side character in his books and what, could you imagine how particular he would have been about this show? And especially where characters are getting finger banged.
We're not allowed to speculate about that. That was a tweet from last week.
We're
not allowed to say Robert Jordan would be spinning in his grave. How dare we put words in his mouth? Except,
no, I'm not putting words in his mouth. It's a direct quote from 2002.
I know.
Of what
I know.
he would come
That's
down
what
with the hammer of God.
I responded with the quote and immediately got blocked.
He
says, I will hunt you down and come down on you with the hammer of God.
Yeah. And why is that? It's because people might read the Wheel of Time and think it's horny, right? And there's an element to that, but it's also Victorian, right?
It's also fade to black always, though. Like
yeah. But
it's Rand blushes and it fades to black, right? It's
but everybody's really good looking, and there's Rand's got multiple women, and there's relationships here and there.
It's very flirtatious,
incredibly.
You've got the maiden's kiss stuff with Matt. It definitely implies, or it doesn't even imply it. Matt is promiscuous.
Yeah, well,
he bangs that redhead Aiel at the end of.
It's Fires of Heaven.
It's the beginning of book 5.
Yeah, it's all throughout. The beginning of book 5 is when he shacks up and he's basically railing her all of book 5. But good for him. But it's all off screen. And the thing is, that means the Wheel of Time is a book series that you don't mind giving to someone who's 12 or 13 years old, being like, hey, you like fantasy? Read this. Yes, there's violence in it. There's magic. There's big battles, and there's some sex, but it's done tastefully, and it's all off screen. It's not a Game of Thrones or a Song of Ice and Fire, which gets explicitly pornographic in parts.
They definitely want it to be, for sure. Rafe wants it to be. Did you see his Q&A before season 1 where someone asked him how family friendly is the show going to be? Like, can I watch this with my kids? And he says, yeah, sure. You can definitely watch this with your kids. Not mine.
Oh, man.
That's what they want. They want your kids to watch this. I started watching with my 7-year-old son.
I hope you turned it off.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Sick people. But I mean, that they would deliberately do this, and it's like the one thing he's really on the record is like not liking about his fandom, and it's like these people must have been sued by Robert Jordan back in 2002, 2003, and they've just been carrying this as like a grudge. And it's basically revenge against a dead man. That's the only thing that I can, make sense of. But
you mentioned the graphic novel. They just announced they're rebooting that, right? Or restarting it. Not restarting it.
I think
they're picking it back up.
Because there was 2 graphic novels. There was a New Spring, and there was
they did the Eye of the World. I thought that they were going to do the Dragon Reborn now. I'm sorry. The Great Hunt. I'm pretty sure the announcement was they're going to do the Great Hunt now.
Okay. I haven't read that. It was significant enough news that those things were getting reprinted because for a long time they were very, very difficult to find. But it was really only the New Spring one that had the email correspondence between Robert Jordan and the artist.
Because they did that first. Did they do New Spring first, and then he died, and posthumously Eye of the World was released?
I'm not 100% sure about that because I don't have
it was like right around that time though, so he might have still been alive.
Yeah. Might have. Maybe not on the Eye of the World, but
yeah, they're doing the Great Hunt.
Might be good if they have the same artist and the same attention to detail, but I doubt it.
The art is really good in the first 2.
It was Chuck Dixon, wasn't it?
Oh, you're gonna make me Google stuff.
I think it was Chuck Dixon for the first 2 graphic novels, but I think also Chuck Dixon, this might not be official, but he said he would never work with Robert Jordan again.
Well, he doesn't have to anymore.
That's arguably why it stopped, is he just did not have a good time. He had no creative license with anything whatsoever, and Robert Jordan was very, very particular about how his story was portrayed.
The artwork is phenomenal, though. I mean, look it up. I don't have these comic books. I really should get them. I don't see who the reboot is. Yeah, they've got the still from like the the Dark Friend Social. Everyone was talking about that, so they already have some of the artwork.
Okay.
They've got here. Let me share. Boop, boop, boop. Come on. Like, it doesn't look bad. Time period's a little bit off, but like that looks pretty good to me.
I'm not a comic book. Oh God, are they doing that for the cover?
Yeah, this is no.
No, I mean this one. This is
I hope not.
one.
But this is an eyesore right here.
I'm not the biggest fan of comic books for this kind of stuff, and I'd probably do this a little bit differently, and that's honestly not how I would imagine the Boar's prologue either. This one's kind of okay, except
that's pretty good.
It's too much detail, and Matt doesn't have his hat yet. So what the hell is going on there?
It's branding. I don't know. I don't hate it.
I would. I'm just too particular. If that Matt has an eye patch as well, I'm gonna flip my shit. Can you go back really quick? Does he have an eye patch with his hat?
I didn't see one. No.
No.
Okay.
There's no eye
patch. Okay. Good.
No. Do you think we're getting any Aelfin and Eelfin in the show?
No, because Matt is going to turn to the dark, and he's going to be like the nemesis through it. Honestly, the show is not going to get a season 3. I know it's like.
Well, it's already filmed though. They're already done.
No. They were in the middle of it, and then production kind of halted with the strikes, writer strike and actor strike. So I think
I thought they said that this show is still filming. I'm pretty sure they did not have to halt production on.
Maybe, but here. Okay, so.
Oh no!
Here's the nuance. Is that,
I'm thinking of House of the Dragon. They did halt production. You're right.
Yeah, because Rafe Judkins is part of the actors or the Writers Guild, and so are all his writers. But you could still produce if they had written their script. They just couldn't have the writers write new things on set. Like that always happens, right? Here's your script, and then you realize we can't actually film this because of XYZ reasons or what XYZ.
Did you see the argument where actors are not allowed to improvise on set either? Because that's writing.
Really?
Yeah. that was a legitimate take that someone made.
But anyway, at this point, if the writers weren't allowed to actually write anything, it would probably make the show better.
Yeah. I've said this so many times. When you're adapting a series like this, you don't need writers. You need editors. You need people who can condense. You don't need to write a single word.
Could you imagine if it's like, oh fuck, we got a writer's strike, and the director's like, don't worry, and he pulls out the book and he's like, let's just do this, and then all of a sudden they actually make something good. Could you fucking imagine?
Yeah, they're still shooting. Okay, thanks, Trip. Oh,
they'll just cancel it though.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm just giddy for like next week when we get the Nielsen numbers, because that would be the first hint of how the show is performing. But I think it's been an utter disaster. I honestly think it's only the people on Twitter of Time who are basically putting it on nonstop loops in order to get the views up.
Yeah.
Not realizing that in the grand scheme of things, statistically, that's not going to make a difference. And similarly, all of us hate watchers, although more like gatekeepers, I think, and we want to be on top of it in order to point out what's but interest is completely gone. There's no one in the middle. There's only people who are like hardcore supporters and people who hardcore hate it. And at the end of the day, we all watch it on like a Discord, so they're not getting views from
to
us,
reduce the
really.
numbers. Yeah. Well, I watch it. I watch it once to record it, so I can use footage for my videos, and then don't ever need to go on Amazon ever again. So I can go through the stills, you know?
Good God.
I record
her freaking boots. I know you got a thing in the way there, but her boots basically turn up like she's a freaking jester. What the hell is with those boots? Why am I even fixated on the boots?
I don't know. Okay.
I'm weird.
Did you like any of this episode?
Yeah, Egwene got the crap kicked out of her. I loved that.
That was fun.
I hate Egwene. This go back to that one frame. That made my day where she's got the like twisted hand.
She punches herself?
No, when she tries to reach for the bracelet and then it like seizes her up. That was brilliant.
Here's my question though. They have a leash, but then they
never use it.
Yeah, it's like, how dumb was that? That it's just like a leash with the one power. I was like, why are you even putting a leash on her if that's not even what does it? Like,
it's because Rafe Judkins literally said chains are problematic.
And then he still brought him back. This shot, brilliant.
Yeah,
chains are problematic. Great. Can't have that. But ball gags are apparently par for the course.
Although, I call them binkies because that's what they look like.
Do you want to hear my pet theory about those? So, of course you do.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, it's I'm great. Remember how in season 1 most of the plot points involving all the Aes Sedai hinged upon them not being able to sense the ability to channel in each other?
Sorry. Okay. Say that again. So, is this show or book theory?
Show.
Okay.
So
Aes Sedai can't tell.
Moron shows up in Tarvalon, and Leandrin accuses Moron of not letting them know that Nynaeve is a powerful channeler.
Right.
And Moron says, I had no idea she was. There was no way she could know. So apparently the show is establishing that women cannot sense the ability in other women.
Yes.
Even though the book is completely opposite.
Right. That is the case with men though in the books, right? Women see women's channeling, but men don't see each other's channeling, right?
It's about seeing, but as far as sensing each other's relative strength levels,
yes,
it's done a little bit differently. And the first test that Mazrim Taim does for Rand has to do with the resonance test, right? He tests Damon Flynn and a couple others at the Black Tower in book 6 to basically just embrace the source kind of at a trickle. And if you do it in close proximity to someone else who can channel, you'll feel a resonance eventually. But it's one of those things where the systems are completely different.
Yeah.
There are costs and benefits associated with each other.
Oh,
but one thing about women that we know is the ability to sense channeling ability.
Yes, and they can see each other's weaves.
Yeah, and sense strength level.
Yes,
not just where they are, but potential.
Yes.
But that's done away with in the show in order for Nynaeve to be surprised I can channel and heal everybody.
Right.
And Moraine didn't tell anyone, and becomes a political thing.
Yes.
But in this season, you have a Demone who with a ball gag
by
walking
sight
around,
yes.
pointing at people who can channel. And especially in this episode, Rima, Elaine, and Nynaeve need to be very cautious about their channeling.
Which is a point from the books.
Right. So they went back to the book that's, being able to sense channeling is a feature of the magic system, but it was the opposite in season 1.
Yeah, it's not the only thing they retconned from season 1. They made the ways better.
They flipped 100%, but what I think they're probably going to do is say that the ball gag Turangrial that's in
it's not a muzzle
Turangrial.
It's a mouth Turangrial.
It's a mouth Turangrial that detects the ability to channel or the one power usage. That's what they're going to say.
That would be.
It's a ball Gongrial. That didn't work.
I'm going to steal that anyways. That's a very good name for it.
Yeah. They also completely retconned horses won't survive the ways, and channeling in the ways attracts the Machin-Chin.
Well, horses won't survive Moraine or Moron in this show. That's one thing. But in all honesty, yeah, Leandrin had to probably, and Trip pointed this out. I know she's in the chat, but she came on with me for one of the reviews, and basically said, how did Leandrin get the girls off the horses and back on the horses in the ways? Unless she's as strong as Rena, I don't know if she could lift them up. So maybe she's channeling in the ways, but really, what does she have to be afraid of from the Black Wind? If she's self-aware, right?
Right, because all it does is tell you the truth. Someone made the joke. It wasn't me. It's not my joke, but it's funny that last week the joke was the Machin Sheen tells Leandrin that she has strong cheekbones or something like that. Yeah.
Oh, I think that was my joke.
Was it? Yeah, that was your joke from last week.
I made you laugh.
It was good. Yeah. So yeah, we got the one scene. They stretched this out for an entire hour.
Yeah.
And they don't even use the best part from the books where she takes away her name.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's Tuli, right?
Yeah. The whole Shanshan culture is about names, right?
Yeah.
And it's like I pledge myself to you and my hope for a better name. Like that's all what everyone who's of the low blood wants to be, of like the medium blood or the high blood or the blood. Like everyone wants to raise in status, and every time you like crest a new rung of society, it comes with a new name.
Yeah.
Like that's everything that they want.
Yeah.
There's even stuff about Matt being worried that Tuon is way too young for him because she says name day. Right? My last name day was 14. Oh, wait a second. She says, you count your ages from your birth. And then she gives like her correct age.
Right. Because they count when they get a new name, right?
Their whole culture is around names and their new names. And especially for Damane, they get struck from the official citizen roles. They're not people anymore. They get dog and cat names. Oh,
I'm listening, but there's some kids interrupting.
No, that's totally fine.
What? You want to sit there?
Yeah.
Nice.
You never want to come down and stream with me.
Take me. Come to the take me too.
Wow.
Take me
Okay.
too.
So Jared and I have to.
Okay, you have to be quiet. Yeah, go what?
We have to watch our language, or can she hear us?
No, it's in the headphones. I mean, you're supposed to be watching your language anyway. It's a family-friendly show. It's PG-13.
Uh-oh. I'm sorry.
Fine. It's fine.
But yeah, your point about the names is 100% correct. The Damane are dehumanized by giving them pet names. That's one of the most sinister and creepy parts of this book.
You're not allowed to keep anything.
Yeah.
Right? I liked that they did use the line, you think that you're people or whatever. Like I'm sorry that you grew up thinking you were a person, but you're not. You're Damane. I was like, that's good. That's really good.
Yeah.
Because they don't view them as people. They view them as dogs. They're livestock, and they use them. Are you gonna drink my water? Yeah, go ahead. She's so funny. But the most humiliating part of it was, okay, you disobeyed me one. It's literally like the first time. She's nice to her the first time, and then she tries to channel while she's gone, and the bracelet tells her, no, you tried channeling? Okay, I'm not. And she does say the name, I'm going to let you keep your name, Egwene, but then she slips up one time and says, nope, your name's gone. Now you're Tuli.
It's devilishly sinister, and it's fantastic. One of the better parts of the book, and what I really don't like, there's another thing from the books, and that is about the pitcher of water, where Egwene admits to Min that she thought about hitting Rena with it, and she wasn't able to couldn't touch it for a week until she had convinced herself not that she would never do that, and then all of a sudden she could touch it, which is like, it's a sinister mind control device. But they took one line and they made it half this episode.
They made it half the episode. Yeah, it was this. When this happens in the books, that is when I fell in love with the series. I read book 1 and I was like, I liked it, but I was like, it feels kind of generic fantasy. There's nothing specifically about this series that is jumping out as unique to me.
But
right?
Book 1 gets so much better on rereads.
It does. It really does. After you've read the whole series, book 1, you're like, wow, I can't believe I ever thought that this was generic.
Well, there's so much stuff that you pick up after you know something about the series that you would gloss over.
There is so much setup in book 1 that doesn't get paid off for literally 14 books, and you're like, you are a madman.
Yeah.
Robert Jordan is insane, but this moment, the turn, like it's very much so a tonal shift in book 2 when this happens. I was that it hit me really hard, and I was like, oh, so okay, this is going to be really good. And it was specifically, this scene where she's treated like a dog, and you kind of get it in this, but you're right, like they really stretch out. They stretch out silly things and try and make it a bigger deal rather than just putting what's in the book, right?
Well, all she's basically done in this episode is she's just being abused in a room.
Yeah.
Whereas there was more to Damane training than just that. So if they wanted to take license, they could have done more stuff. And it could have been more humiliating things. There's plenty of that from the books to draw from. But could you imagine a scene where instead of Rena obsessing over 2 girls, 1 cup, which is what this whole episode is.
Okay, go on.
She comes in, she puts the leash on Egwene and says,
no, she comes in, takes the leash off Egwene. Oh, sorry, you're proposing a better. Sorry,
I'm hypotheticizing.
Sorry, I thought you were summarizing.
Hypothesizing. Okay. No. Let's say she comes in, she says, "I don't want you to get fat," and then she puts her on the leash and then takes her outside for like a jog. How demeaning would that be?
That would have been great. Like that really would have like triggered. Well, see, that actually would have worked.
That happens.
That would have worked for their target audience, because then you would have had a whole bunch of people outraged. I can't believe that they were fat shaming. You're like, yeah, these are bad guys, right? Like that really would have served. That would have played into their
taking away her name, giving her a dog name, taking her for walks. If she does something right, she gets like a sweet or like a honey cake or whatever, and she gets a pat on the head, like. If you just play up that kind of crazy pet relationship, it would have amplified the horror, I think, of her situation more so than any beating and any sadomasochistic stuff that we actually saw.
Yeah, do they actually beat her in the show? Because like they don't need to, because the collar does it all for her.
Yeah, exactly.
Rena literally kicks her in the face and in the stomach several times midway through the episode.
I mean, in the show, yes,
in the show.
Yeah, which is that's why I was asking. Like that, it's so unnecessary. The collar does all the punishing. They instead of doing that, they just use the collar and do the torture stuff.
Yeah, the soul dom who has it on the wrist could basically send pain through it so that she feels like she's being stabbed by nettles.
Yeah, she doesn't even need to touch her. That's the thing. That's why the leash is so ridiculous, is because it's I mean, either way, if they do something to her, right, or try to do something, then they feel the pain, or they can just say, "Oh yeah, I want to punish you. Like, let's punish you."
Yeah, I did. I liked that they took something directly from the books. At least the first scene is pretty much 1-to-1, but then they really stretch it out. There's
oh god, don't let your daughter see this. You might want to skip over this.
She's not paying attention. Shirtless Rand. I don't understand the whole goal was, hey, we're going to go in and trick Lanfear, right? And then immediately they're like, they forget that their plan was to get Lanfear on their side.
Oh, it's worse than that, dude. It was they were gonna like talk to Lanfear and get Lanfear to tell them what Ishalmael's plan was.
Mhm.
But as soon as a condition of this is, sorry, Moraine, you're fired. Moraine basically says she's a Forsaken. You can't believe anything she says, and it's like, why did I just fall asleep to listen to her and what she said?
He wasn't believing what she says. He has to concede what she asked. And Moraine's entire plot arc the last episode was, oh, hey, maybe Rand doesn't need me. And their goal was, okay, we're going to go talk to Lanfear and pretend like you're on your side. And now she's, oh no, you can't leave me. And she doesn't even, like, they don't even have the conversation. Yes, but we can't get on her side if you stay.
More
like, that's not even brought up in their conversation. It's just, you're leaving me? Yeah, I'm leaving you.
Her whole plot arc in the last episode was Nightmare on Elm Street. It was like, now I can't ever go to sleep. How is this your plan? And what's dumb about it is, like, she would have had the forethought to recognize that. I just stabbed a Forsaken through the heart and slit her throat, really pissing her off, because apparently that doesn't kill her, and I knew it wouldn't kill her. It would just piss her off. But she's a master of the world of dreams, and therefore, if I do this, I could never sleep again. That was her plan.
I was listening the whole time. There's a blanket? Oh, you want the blanket? Okay. There's your blanket. Okay.
This is so adorable.
It's peak entertainment is what it is. You're so funny. If you're gonna stay here, you need to be quiet, okay? You can stay as long as you're quiet.
Nice.
Anyway, their plan is stupid, and like the whole arc was, okay, we can't fall asleep, and then, oh wait, no, our plan is to fall asleep, we're gonna trick her. And then Lanfear's condition is you gotta leave Moraine, and they don't even talk about it in this. And then Moraine just reverts. Like last episode, Moraine was nice. She started being a little bit nice, and she immediately reverts in this episode to just horrible person again.
Yep.
Like it's the show is so inconsistent. I don't even know what they're trying to go for. Then we get Min.
They want us to root for the bad guys.
I think they do. They get, because Min's a dark friend now, but she immediately regrets her decision, even though she doesn't do anything to to revert the decision.
Have you guys heard what Min's new nickname is?
No, what is it?
All right, this came from one of the Discord users, one of our mods, Galad. I think he called her either Kim Jong Min or Min Jong Un.
The second's better. Min Jong Un works way better
because she has the sun shade.
She does. She does. It's not okay.
Why?
Look, this is the case with any race. Looking at a different race, sometimes it's hard to distinguish a race that's not your own. Okay,
it's not even racist.
She does look kind of like,
she has the same freaking haircut, and she's probably the same age as that guy.
Not to say they all look the same, but to white people, they all look kind of similar. And it's the same the other way around. Asian people can't tell white people apart. It's not. That's not racist. That's just a fact of life.
I'm wearing a very bright orange jacket, so I don't think I look like you or Jared.
Yeah, but put Jared and me in front of an Asian person, and they'd have a tough time.
Because we're both. I think we all chubby. Look pretty similar. Yeah.
We all have
the slim side.
Yeah.
It's a funny joke name, but I'm pretty sure if I was put in like like to identify a police lineup, I could differentiate Kim Jong-un from Kay Alexander. So we're not that bad.
Yeah.
We're just making the point that she's got a North Korean dictator haircut more than anything.
Yeah. We mentioned this. So this is Rima Sedai, right? The black
Rima?
lady.
Yeah.
Rima, who technically is from the books. I mean, not this book,
Yeah,
but
well,
she is in
mentioned.
she's in the prequel, New Spring, and she's mentioned in I can't remember which book, and then Egwene talks to her one time in
and she's almost all converted, and it's not on screen. It's like a flashback, and her name is Pura.
Winter's Heart, I believe, is when she's mentioned.
No, Pura is mentioned in The Great Hunt, but I don't think you find out it's Rima until later.
Right, yeah.
Because in Winter's Heart, what happened to Pura or Rima is that after they got pushed out of Falma, the Shanshan, she basically leaves, or with the retreat goes to the island.
Yeah, she got taken back
to Cantarin or whatever. But then Tuon rescued her, took her up from the docks because she was basically starving herself or not wanting to live. And she's, I think this was her, but there was an Aes Sedai Damane that Tuon basically brought back from death because of her super Soldom training skills.
Yeah.
Which is just also incredibly creepy.
And her basically the only reason that she's in the books is to give that sense of dread that they can even chain Aes Sedai, because Egwene has that, or I don't even know if it's a direct conversation. It might have been like third hand, but her one stipulation is, I want people to remember my real name.
Yeah, it's a conversation that Egwene has with Min.
Right, so it's secondhand.
Absolutely, her sense of dread is completely amplified by the fact that Egwene at this point has met an Aes Sedai, and she can tell it was an Aes Sedai from her face, but she's been broken. She's like full on Damane, and that she was used to be of the White Tower. And remember, these are novices, right? They revere the Aes Sedai. They look up to them, and they can't, that's what they want to be one day. And if they break, what does it mean for them? The show, I think they try and do it with the ending there, where you've got Maigan Mix Sedai.
Right. They give she's in the episode, but they give her plot line to a different character.
Yeah.
Who is I don't know if you know this, but she was a sitter for the Blue Aja. They only say it 5 times.
But did they say it like that, or did they have an accent on it?
It was so cringy. Also made no sense, because you before the reveal at the end of the episode, I was a sitter for the Blue Aja.
Try it with the Irish accent, please. I can't be the only one to do this online.
I was a sitter for the Blue Aja. You want to get down? Okay. I love you. No, you want to play under my desk? What are you doing? What are you doing? Yes, you dropped the blanket. You want the... What do you want? You want the other blanket? I have a blanket underneath my desk for if I'm streaming and my legs get cold. And apparently her blanket is not good enough. She wants the other one.
Wow. Can you blame her?
I got both of them. Here, come here. I got it. I got it. Right. I was a sitter for the Blue Aja. Is that the point we're making? It was so silly, because up until that point, yes, it's a blanket, but you need to be quiet so Daddy can talk. Okay. Before that reveal, which we already knew because these characters already said it, they're talking through the wall, and her character is so broken, she doesn't... What do you want? You don't want the blanket.
I want to get down.
You want to get down? Okay. Say bye. Bye. Her character. Okay. Anyway, her character is so broken. She doesn't even respond to Egwene trying to talk to her through the wall. She's so broken that all she can do is. It's not even a mantra. She's just repeating things that what is the line that she's repeating? You can't touch anything that's a weapon. You can't touch anything that you think is a weapon or whatever.
She's repeating the refrain that the Soldam would have told her.
But it's like not even a refrain.
Well, it begs the question as to why does Egwene think that she's hearing a demone rather than a Soldam delivering the instruction?
Exactly. Like that's not what the demone would say. They would say, I cannot touch anything that I believe is a weapon, right?
They wouldn't use I. That's another thing that's later on kind of they always refer to themselves in the third person.
Right. She was one cannot.
Pura cannot.
Pura, exactly.
That's how they start speaking. So that
right.
If they had an editor who had read the books, who was paying attention to detail, that's probably how it would have been saying. They would have given Maigan Nixidai probably a silly nickname like, what's very Irish? Blarney. Blarney cannot touch.
Blarney must not touch the one power. Blarney must not look for gold under the rainbow.
Blarney can't use the picture as a weapon. Yar, I was a sitter for the Blue Aja.
But the whole point of it is her character is so broken she can't even respond to someone talking to her. But at the end of the episode, she's still talking. She remembers herself. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it felt weird.
Talking to the audience, but I mean,
they did it exactly. She was talking to the audience, but it makes no sense in context. And guess what? We already knew because these people talked about it. They said, "Oh, she was a Blue Aja," right? Like we already got it. It wasn't. It was treated like it was a reveal, but it wasn't. And it's another symptom of what this season is doing constantly. It keeps shooting itself in the foot and revealing things before they're revealed.
And if you watch the previously on, they injected the scene from episode 6 where they're in the bathhouse and with their tits out. Mm-hmm. So it's like, why is she here? And then it's like, oh yeah, I remember she was gonna go to the west or whatnot. But honestly, I clapped when I saw her kind of imprisoned because I really hated her character. So honestly, that's what I loved about this episode was Egwene getting the crap kicked out of her, and Maigan Nixidai was enslaved. So.
Yeah. But like they've done this so many times this season. The reveal that Leandrin is a dark friend isn't a reveal because they give it away before that happens in the scene where Min talks to not Lanfear.
To book readers, right? To book readers, it's revealed to low IQ normies who are watching this for the first time, and they might need a breadcrumb or a trail of breadcrumbs in order to get there. But
they do it all the time. It's constantly they're blowing their own reveals. Because what was the other example? I've talked about this ad nauseum, but there was another example from episode 1. Anyway, they're just constantly destroying their own momentum. Oh, it's with the fades, right? In episode 2, they're like, "Oh, there's a dead fade." When Perrin finds it, who could have possibly done this? Except episode 1 ends with Lan and Moraine taking out 13 fades.
Yeah.
So they legitimately don't know how to write. It's silly.
I'm not going to disagree with that point.
And I hate that this Aes Sedai is even here at all because it undermines the severity of the situation with Nynaeve and Elaine, because they're supposed to be completely alone. They're supposed to be clueless, and they're supposed to be like this was a really cool part of the books where they're detectives right? Trying to sneak around and get information about what's going on. And it's all handed to them on a silver
they get
platter.
access to Min, right? Because Min is basically given liberty. So Min is their go-between. And that's kind of how it all comes together. But with this, it's like
none of the main characters have agency. They've never made a choice. Like Rand this whole season has just been pushed around like on a shuffleboard. He hasn't made a single decision. Matt has only made decisions I love it. Yet again, we get Matt abandoning his friends this episode. Remember when remember when the excuse was, oh, they only did it in season 1 because of the recast?
No.
That's why season 1 was bad, because of COVID?
No. They're always going to destroy his character, but
this scene was very confusing to me. Lanfear is trying to get Liandrin on her side by killing her son.
Yep.
She doesn't actually go through with it, right?
No, they totally murdered her son.
Yeah, she finishes him off.
Yeah, no, I got that too, that he's dead. Like
it looked like it honestly wasn't very clear. It looked like she might have backed off at the very end. I didn't know.
So this is what's weird about it for me is it seems like it's implying that Liandrin's like a recent convert to the shadow. And she only did it after her son Aludrin got sick because he was 95. And somehow thought the shadow could heal being 95. I don't know.
It's not clear.
And then Lanfear asks, like, why are you serving a Shamael?
Serve me instead, because I can do things for you like kill your son.
There's that, but also, why wouldn't she serve a Shamael? Because, sorry, Lady Lanfear, but prior to like 3 weeks ago, you weren't even out of your tampon hole or whatever. Yeah, that was one of the grosser comments, but I appreciate that from what Alex's review of that episode was. Is like, why was she covered in blood? She obviously menstruated in her prison for 3,000 years.
It's the scene in Man in the Iron Mask where they take off the mask and he's got the facial hair just all over his face, except with Lanfear, it's her menstrual blood. That's it.
So glad we had this chat.
Yeah. Liandrin's acting in this scene is hilarious. I was laughing the whole time. This is a great still of her being sad. I loved it. I loved every second of it. And then we get 1 second of Loyal and Ingtar, and they say the kennels, and that's it. That's the only reason for any of this. Oh no, sorry. We get Loyal. We get him to do a tree singing, right? And it makes the tree shake. And then we get one. It just looks so silly. It is a crying shame that this guy is the best actor in the show. Like it's legitimately concerning to me that they make him look so freaking ridiculous. And I genuinely think it's on purpose, because they're like, oh, none of us can act, but wait, this guy's actually good, so let's just make him look silly.
So here's the reason why you think he's the best actor in the show. And that's because everyone acting opposite of him can't act, because they have to look at him and they see how ridiculous he is, and it pulls them out of the world. They just can't believe, like, I can't believe the lines I'm saying, and therefore I can't sell my performance as, somebody who's in this world and believing this. And it's true.
He's also
every scene he's in, he's doing a good job, but everyone acting opposite of him
has to look at his wig
and can't believe it. And therefore it's like, I'm obviously on a fantasy show set and this is ridiculous, and I can't believe the lines that are coming out of my mouth.
It also doesn't hurt, though, that his character is the only one that's still like on brand, like personality wise and decision making wise. It's mostly Loyal,
Dad's being generous.
He hasn't done
too much from him this season. It's like
no.
all he is we saw the one part where he miraculously was healed, and he's like, "Oh, you're riding your friend," and then
we didn't even see that.
That's all we've seen.
But we get this. He's enslaved in Falna, which never happened in the books. But like we didn't get the scene where Rand and Loyal sneak up on Padden Fane's encampment and steal the Horn of Valir.
Yeah, that would have been so fun.
And Loyal is the one who basically picks up the chest and says, "I will run," and then Rand gets on the horse and he's like, "I will outrun the horse." You could have had power boss moments from The Great Hunt with this character.
Could have been so good.
Yeah.
And instead we get this where he's like delivering cheese platters. He hums at a super low tone, makes a tree wiggle, and then we get
eyeshadow Ingtar.
And he simps for Egwene for 30 seconds.
He does.
And he's never even really met Egwene. Like, have they even had a conversation?
Right. I don't think so.
Underneath that sweet girl is steel. It's like, sweet girl?
Well, and then
she's sweet.
I love that they put makeup on Ingtar. That's just
and he's owning it because
I know.
Yeah. Well, the other thing too with Loyal is like in the books, he only ever went along because he's like, yeah, I'll be able to write about this. Like, yeah, okay, I'll follow you just so I can write about what happens to the dragon.
He felt the Ta'Veren swirl, and he kind of wanted to be part of it, right?
Yeah, I mean, so even this thing about like, oh yeah, we got to save Egwene. Like, he hasn't. Like, why is she important to him?
Not.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm not even sure, even in the books, that they even have a conversation with each other.
I don't think. I mean, literally, I think he just follows Rand around all the time, or Matt and Perrin, and that's it. Like, yeah.
I also don't understand. The last time we saw, what's her name? This one,
Suroth.
She was banished and said, "You're not allowed to be part of society until your nails grow back."
Well, I know, but then they gave him the Horn of Valir.
Yeah, but he didn't rescind that. She's still like shunned from society, but she's still allowed to.
She gave him Egwene, so maybe she's back because of that.
She's still allowed to have soirees with her short fingernails. It's so silly.
That freaking bald cap, though. Oh my god!
I know, it makes her head look so big. It's very bad.
Anyway, at least she
that one's really bad. Her forehead is so tall. Okay. Yeah, and then we get the kennels. Sure, and that's the point of this scene. And then we get the editing is horrible in this show. This episode in particular, how they do, like,
she gets her fantasy where she can beat up Rena, and then it doesn't come true.
Yeah, it's like it's not very clear, and it's confusing, and it's also just bad editing. And they do the same thing. I really don't like how they're doing like Rand's dream sequences. How Ishamael is like torturing him and making him see things. It's just coming off like very muddled, and yeah, the editing is bad. Sorry, why is Suroth wearing something that looks like a demonic collar? That is a good point.
Is she?
In the kind of, she's wearing a thingy. It's a cape. So there's a cape attached to it, but it kind of. It's a good point. There's no consistency in this show.
Oh look! Yeah, there's the chain.
Yeah, we see it's in the show. I think it's there as a joke. You know, they're like, "Hey, we're not actually adapting the books, but wouldn't it be funny if we put the chain in only to just never use it?"
Yeah, seriously. I will say though, I kind of like what they did with her face though. where they have the lines on it rather than the black across the face. Like, it's still a little weird, but it's better than the black.
I can't stand the Two-Face, but hamburger style.
You didn't like the half black face?
I want full black face. I wanted their whole race to be black.
No, it
kind of hinted at in the books.
It isn't it? No, it's not. Because there's some more characters that the Shan are kind of definitely given over as being very diverse. Because there are Shan that are very like blonde of hair and blue-eyed, and then there are others that are very, very dark. And it's also a society that doesn't like tier itself by any type of racial or ethnic ethnic hierarchies whatsoever. It more so than any other culture in the books, the Shan are the diverse ones. Maybe the White Cloaks, because the White Cloaks also draw from multiple different lands. But I think Aegeanin is, I think she's blue-eyed and light of hair.
It's implied that Tuon is black. It says she has dark skin. You don't know if that means dark or black.
Well, no, you got Tuon on the cover of Crossroads of Twilight, and she's definitely like a little black girl in like a clown costume or whatever. But no,
I've seen that cover.
So that much is fine. But I mean, with the Demone, you just give them gray dresses and tie them to a silvery collar, and the Suldam have basically got similar dresses, but with the black and red checkers and lightning bolts or whatever on their dress. Like, you didn't have to go this egregious with shoulder pads and toe tips going up and face tattoos and scarring on the face and other nonsense. Like, they went completely overboard on the Shan, and they didn't need to make them menacing. Like,
you're right about that book cover. I always thought that was a little boy. That's Tuon.
That's Tuon.
I haven't seen that cover in a long time. Okay. Yeah, this is just so drawn out. Also, her performance is terrible. It's so
salty traveling sea, salty Texas Sea made a point on the post-mortem discussion on our White Cloaks channel. He thinks that the reason why we got like 10 physical abuse scenes involving Egwene was to give Rena more screen time, because Rena is played by a woman that identifies as a man.
Yeah.
So every minute Zelia here is on the screen is extra ESG points for Amazon.
She's not good
the
at acting.
The cynic in me would be like, oh, come on. But you know what? That kind of makes sense. If that's what they're actually going for, if they wanted to give additional representation, it kind of makes sense why they did the same scene 5 times in this freaking episode.
I would have preferred it if they chose a woman who identifies as a good actor. So that's just me. That's just me.
I think she plays a woman well enough. I didn't think she was a man in any of it, other than when she like one hand lifts Egwene up onto the peg later. But
yeah, that was. I don't like any of this.
You didn't like this scene of her looking at the tree and being like,
"It did
a tree."
Yeah, it really doesn't work. Like, I get they bring it back and they're like, "Oh, this is your only hope is the tree," but this scene pans out so far. It doesn't come across like that in the scene. It just comes across as, oh, we're zooming out to show the city, instead of, oh, hey, a tree. There is a glimmer of life in this cell.
No, the reason why the scene doesn't work is I was cheering for Rena when she beat the crap out of Egwene.
Mark Clark watched the Discord and he doesn't even remember most of what I'm showing. Yeah. No, like, this scene is supposed to be, hey, which I believe this does happen in the books, right? She makes her burn up a tree.
No.
What am I remembering?
There
is a scene where they're practicing on a tree, but it doesn't happen. You're right.
Now, if anything, the practicing with the one power is only spoken of after the fact. None of it's kind of on screen. And what Egwene notes is that they discover that Egwene has a talent for earth, one of the flows. And that's actually quite rare among women, that she's stronger in earth than some of the other flows. And therefore, she can find valuable mineral deposits. And therefore, because they're so excited about it, they're going to bring her back to Shan-Chan on the next available boat.
Right.
So what it does in the story is it adds the additional urgency of she needs to break out soon before she gets shipped off to go back to Shandar.
Right. But isn't there a scene with Nynaeve and Elaine though? Because they've never used the one power to fight. And so they don't. I think there's something about burning a tree where they're like, okay, we need to know how to fight them if it comes up.
No. So what happens in that book where they get involved is they basically they run into a Shan-Chan or the Soldar, and they actually collar her because Nynaeve has already figured out how to undo the collar, and so they undo the collar and collar her, and then they basically use her to get into the base. And then they were gonna probably do some stealthy thing, but then as soon as they get in the base, they actually see Egwene and they're like, "Oh shoot!" And so then they are able to sneak into her cell,
right?
And then they just free her from the cell, and then her trainer comes in, and then they collar her trainer,
right?
Yeah. So that's the big reveal that essentially the Soldam and the Damane, the distinction between the two is women who are born with the spark get found out when they're like 14, 15 years old and get collared. And women who have the ability to learn, they become Soldam later.
Right.
But after the Soldam have developed an affinity for the one power, they can be collared just as easily.
Right.
So Egwene figures all this stuff out down the road, and that's what the distinction is. And it just adds to the unfairness of it all, that this whole Shan-Chan slavery system
falls apart,
is built on a giant lie.
Yeah.
But good luck finding that nuance in this fucking show, because you know what they said in this episode? They said that the Idam was created by a sister of the White Tower,
which I think that's actually book accurate.
Nope.
Now
you remember that someone with a Sedai moniker was someone who invented it. But remember when Arthur Hawkwing's armies, led by his son, sailed across the sea, they found a continent perennially at war that was largely factions fighting each other, ruled by people saying they were Aes Sedai. But those were not White Tower Aes Sedai, those were post-breaking one power users calling themselves Aes Sedai, and one of them thought that they could curry favor with the new invading armies with this invention, a Turangrial, that controlled women who could channel. But it was not White Tower one way or the other. So this was completely and utterly wrong. Oh yeah, and Trip saying, so it was created by a Shan-Chan Aes Sedai, but then thanks for that, and they immediately, or not immediately, at the end of the day, they ended up collaring her with her own invention.
Right. Okay, that's what I remember. I was like, I remember something like that from the books.
But it had nothing to do with the White Tower.
Yeah, that's correct. Looking it up now. I knew that the person who made it eventually got collared.
Yeah. So Min Jong-un, huh?
Yeah, more dark friends, and then people's.
I'm altering the deal. Pray I don't alter it any further.
And then he ends with, but I always keep my deal promises. Except that he's just barely demonstrated that he doesn't. Whatever. Then, yeah, this is the scene.
Yeah, we already talked about this.
It's on purpose, guys. It's on purpose. They were testing each other.
Hey, Alan, do you and Jared want to go very autistic on the Forsaken here?
Sure.
Okay.
Do us your deep dives.
There are 8 Forsaken statues in this ring.
Right.
on this temple. There were 8 little Forsaken statuettes that Stepan had.
Yes, because I believe they already said, hey, we're going to cut down and merge some of the Forsaken.
So in our rewatch, I think we got some of this wrong. We got some more info filled in, but we had come down to kind of who's on the short list, because there's 5 Forsaken that the show is not going to show. So,
and in his speech, he mentioned there's him, there's Lanfear. He said the twins, right?
There are no twin Forsaken. But
that's what that's what
I don't know what he's talking about.
Ishamael said though when he was talking to Lanfear, no, he said the boys.
Yeah,
it wasn't the twins.
Lanfear said the boys couldn't execute a plan even under compulsion or something like that. But the only other than Forsaken that have been mentioned by name. So after Ishamael and Lanfear, you got Graendal and you got Moghedien.
Yes.
Graendal was like a horror, but yeah, okay, that's book accurate. And Moghedien was insane.
Right.
So that's 4 of them, implying that the other 4 have to be men.
The boys.
Right? So the other 4 are the boys. So
I thought she was referring to like a pair of brothers or something. But she was referring to the other 4.
Probably.
That makes sense.
Anyways, but that means, at least from our 13 Forsaken, the ones that we then won't get are Semiraj and Masana.
Because they're women.
Because they're women. We won't... and I think that's it for if you got Lanfear and Graendal and Moghedien, Semiraj, Masana. Yeah, there's 5 women Forsaken, the rest are men. So if you don't get Semiraj and Masana, fine, they're gone. So of the men who could be left, I don't think we're getting Agenor or Balthamel.
Right, because they've already been cut from season 1.
And their reincarnation plot, especially Balthamel, would be problematic.
Right? Because it would directly contradict the opening scene of season 1, right?
Yeah. I don't think we're getting Asmodean.
No, because we don't need him, because what's his face is taking his place. Loghain is taking his role.
So if those are the 3 male Forsaken that are cut, then the 4 remaining would be Samael, Demandred, Ravin, and Balal. So that's what I think we're getting. But the one interesting point is in this Temple of the Forsaken and in Stepan statuettes, there was one Forsaken statue that was smaller than all the other ones. And there was one Forsaken who was like written about always wishing he was taller. And I'm pretty sure it was Samael. So I think they're going to have a dwarf actor play Samael. And I think that'll be hilarious.
That's funny.
Interesting. Okay.
Or it could be Demandred, who also always wanted to be taller.
I mean, they already had a midget Aes Sedai
2
Brown Aja 2.
They had a dwarf lady in Kyrian at the Game of Houses scene who like gave a letter to Rand.
They
then they had Tiny Sedai.
Tiny Sedai.
Drink Varen's homebrew.
Yeah, why is there so much drinking? I genuinely don't understand the toilet wine novices subplot. I'm good at weaves, and that means I can make wine.
Elaine makes like
her thing is she's good at tinkering, right? Her whole purpose in the books is Deus Ex Machina, right? She creates the new toy that he gets to play with, right? It's not Deus Ex Machina, but she gets to advance technology so that Robert Jordan can introduce new fun toys. But in the show, she's good at making alcohol.
She doesn't really invent too many new toys in the book series.
She makes them more available. Like she copies some, right?
Yeah, she's able to make, so the key thing that she makes is she replicates the IDOM,
The dreaming
so that they can that's later, but the first one is so that they can keep Mogedion leashed, right?
Yeah.
And she makes a version that doesn't actually require the leash in between the two.
Mm-hmm.
And then later
that's gone. Yeah. That's already a thing.
But it's more of it is okay. So Nynaeve is super powerful. She has the block and she's really good at healing. Egwene has got the whole Dreamwalker stuff. So what's Elaine's talent? So they basically move that over to Terangrial. But that's also very effective because one of the main plot points from book 6 onwards, when they go and find the Bowl of the Winds, and they find the whole cache of Terangrial and Ebu Dar, that's all kind of related to that. Yeah.
Oh, man, there's so much good stuff from these books that I was so excited to see, and now I would rather the show just crash and burn, and so it stays in my mind.
Oh yeah. Anyway,
so
inside the temple, and then Lan doesn't want to get freaky with Alana and Maxim and Ivan.
That makes that trend, right? So they talk about it, and hey, we're all gonna go to sleep. You literally hear them banging in the tent, right?
Yep.
Lan walks away, gets confronted by
I ain't doing this.
By Rafe's boyfriend, and then turns around and the black guy's behind him, and then she's behind. So who was in the tent? Like, none of it makes sense. Is it just a weave? She created a banging weave?
The worst thing is, like, Maxim says it's rude to like walk away when your friends are sleeping, and it's like, dude, you weren't.
You weren't.
You were DPing her, for crying out loud. Maybe I'm not running away. Maybe I just didn't want to hear that shit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, have we glossed over how dumb it is that there's a temple to the Forsaken? Yeah, that's a little silly too.
It's about it was dumb that Stepan would have miniatures of the Forsaken to ward them off. It's also just as dumb that someone would sculpt it in bigger pieces.
If anyone should be like suspected of being a dark friend, it wouldn't be Lan in this scene.
It wouldn't be Lan in this universe. It's like the last remaining Malkiri. His whole like his country was betrayed to the Shadow and it fell, and he's been sworn to fight the Shadow from his cradle.
I hated this scene so much.
But honestly, maybe it was like they thought he was illiterate, but then on their journey south, he read something, and they're like, "Well, that can't be the explanation as for why that he didn't respond to that poem. He must be in league with Lanfear." But
like, Alana is also super tight with Moraine, right? They had that scene in season 1 where they hint at what's going to happen later in the books.
But remember, Alana is not privy to the whole Moraine and Swan are banging
right
subplot.
But she's also relatively tight with Moraine. Like, wouldn't she be more suspicious of Moraine than Lan in this? Like,
none of this makes any sense, or we shouldn't try and find logic in it.
I just don't know what they're trying to convey. Like, what's the point of it?
They don't know what they're trying to convey. They don't know what the point of this scene is.
It's just manufactured drama because screen
they're
time.
Shit writers.
Today's audience won't understand it without little statues and temples. Yeah. Everything is just spoon-fed in this.
More to the point, here's the thing. It's 8 statues in a ring. How is that a temple? Like, a temple usually has a roof.
Trip thinks that she compels Lan to answer. That's just so out of character for Alana. Like, she's not a bad person.
No, she mind rapes Rand in the book. So, like,
yeah.
So
it does happen.
she skirts with kind of that's Alana is a passionate character. If anything that's described about her, the other Aes Sedai view Alana as being ruled by her emotions, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's when Egwene has her accepted trial, and there's the resonance that comes from her having the Sleepweaver that Varen gave her. But after the first trial, they said, okay, well, let's continue to go through. And then Alana feels really bad about it. And afterwards, like, asks for a penance and kind of does something unbecoming of an Aes Sedai. It immediately makes Alana suspicious in Egwene's eyes. But the other Aes Sedai reaction to Alana is also one of, like, unprofessionalism and whatnot.
He's just testing them.
But definitely when Alana bonds Rand,
mm-hmm.
which is basically the Aes Sedai equivalent of raping someone.
Yeah. And then actually rapes Lan, but sure.
No, she doesn't. Not in the books.
Isn't the spoilers? Isn't the bond transferred to Alana?
No, it's passed to a different Aes Sedai, not Marilil.
I thought
it's
it was
a different
Alana.
one. It begins with no. It wasn't Alana.
I thought that's why they did the scene with her and Moraine in season 1, because it was foreshadowing. Hey, I'm going to pass the bond to you eventually. When they were sitting on the bed chatting and like eating cookies.
Was it Marilil? It was. I'll look it up, but it was an Aes Sedai with an M.
Miriel.
Yeah, Mirel. Sorry, there's a Marilil and there's a Mirel.
Okay. See, I've in my mind since season 1, I've been thinking it's Alana. Because of the scene that they did in season 1. I thought that's what they were hinting at.
The show is messing up your book memory, but
it is. It really is.
Yeah, there's Mule's comment. The show is already rotting your brain. It's true.
My problem, like you keep pointing out, is I'm trying to make it make sense.
There's no sense to be had.
So I'm filling in the gaps with bits and pieces from the books that, like, oh, obviously this is that character from the books, because that would make this all make sense.
No,
that's my problem.
Your default position should be that everything that the show does, they're getting it wrong.
Yeah.
Literally, like their lore expert is window dressing, and I honestly don't believe she can read. Or if she can and she points to
she's read the books 40 times.
Yeah, bullshit. I've read the books less than that, and I know these better than her. But here's the thing.
But she was excited for this episode for 2 years.
They don't listen to her.
She's been sitting on how excited she was for this episode for 2 years.
Why? It sucks.
Because of the sequence with the black Aes Sedai who gets collared.
It sucks. Why do we need to see that?
It's not which even in the books. Not in the books. Oh yeah.
Why was that her plan? I'll discuss that when we get there, but I don't know why that was her plan, to basically go out and fight, go out in a blaze of glory, and then when the blaze of glory is all around you, you all of a sudden chicken out and said, "Kill me," to your warder. And
it could have been run, lead them away instead of have this fight right in front of the house where the girls are hiding.
Make a scene
and
get
run.
All suspicion on you and try and escape.
There was no reason for them to just
spin around each other. They spin around
while looking at each other instead of the threats. But yes, the greatest I will have to completely change how I am approaching the show. Like I know it's getting everything wrong, but you're right. Like I'm it's legitimately ruining the books for me because I'm forgetting stuff trying to make sense of the show, and I need to just shut that off completely.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
The default assumption is that everything the show does is wrong, and deliberately wrong, and probably wrong in the worst possible way.
Like that's not a weird leap to make, right? Confusing her character for Morel. I feel like that was a logical leap in my mind.
It's a logical leap that what they would try and do is. So I don't think they're going to have Alana mind rape Rand, because that's a problematic element. So I don't think
and it's a woman doing it.
Yeah, Rand is not going to get bonded against his will in this show. That's just not going to happen, because that would make a woman look bad. So that's not happening. But to introduce another character to get Lan's bond, I don't. Maybe they'll go with Alana, because Morel was a Green Sister who loved warders and had sex with them to kind of keep them alive, kind of shit.
That is the weirdest part of the book, I think.
So that much I can forgive you for it. But at the same time, they've kind of already gone with the whole Lan lost his Aes Sedai plot point. Yeah, and now he's free to go to Nynaeve kind of thing.
So they're probably never going to do that plot point from the books at all, because they're already doing it here.
Yeah.
And that's why I was so confused. I kept bringing it up. Why are they doing this now? They're just going to have to do it again later, unless they're just not planning on doing it later. But I'm not the only one. They implied that she would transfer the bond to Alana in season 1. I'm not crazy. This just horrible editing. I'm having crazy dreams. You go get the hints, Satan. You can't be in dreams, because Lanfear is she's the queen of dreams. Where is Rand in this scene? Because the last time we saw him, he just left, and then the next time we see him, he's just in another dream. Who knows? It's very unclear.
In the foregate, I don't know. But here's the bigger problem with the scene is, so what does Rand know about Lanfear?
That she's Forsaken, and she's good at dreams.
And
she's good in the sack. And she looks like a man.
And
she's
crazy.
Oh, right, she's crazy. I thought that was implied.
And she only turned to the shadow because Lewis Theron Telamon broke her heart 3,000 years ago.
Right.
So why in the world would Rand ask crazy lady who's super jealous and swore her soul to the devil because you dumped her 3,000 years ago
to go see his other girlfriend? Yeah, that's a good question.
Do you remember what happened in the books?
Yes, I do. She goes nuts.
But what does she go? So Rand bangs Avienda.
She tries to kill Avienda.
Now, she kills the messenger first. So Hadnan Kadir lets her know that Avienda. And she goes so nuts, she basically skins the guy and turns him into a balloon. That's how jealous she was. And then she basically almost kills Avienda and Egwene because she didn't bother to learn which one was Avienda. So she basically attacks them both. And then Rand is struggling.
The books are
Rand
so
still has
good.
his psychological hang up about harming a woman. And that's why Moraine
has to do the deed
tackle
herself.
her through the doorframe Terangrial.
We're definitely not getting that. We can't get rid of Moraine for 5 books. This is a great comment, though. I am crazy to think that the showrunners were setting something up in one episode for some kind of payoff in a future episode in a way that makes a logical sense.
That's a very good comment, Newell. I have it here. Let me look it up. It's in Dante's Inferno. It roughly translates, Alan, as abandon all hope, ye who enter here.
Yeah.
It's kind of inscribed over the gates of hell. But you should remember that every time
I know the Divine Comedy, which is a terrible name for that book, by the way. It's not funny.
It's pretty funny. Literally, all this is Dante shitting on historical figures, being like, I'm putting you in hell. And You're going to find out what rung you're in. I love it. Anyways, abandon all hope.
Ye who watch the show. Rand tells Lanfear about Egwene so Egwene can kill Lanfear. Oh, what if they give that whole plot to Egwene? That wouldn't make sense. They wouldn't be. It wouldn't. They wouldn't be able to get rid of Egwene for that long to be able to, because she has to have her girl power moments where she truly becomes unbreakable. So they can't give it to Egwene.
Is she unbreakable? Because she broke in this episode.
She literally. Well, that's the whole point. Is that she? Well, she never breaks in the books, does she? Yeah.
Not to the Soldom.
Not to the Soldom. That's kind of the whole point. Is she?
But
she kind of
gets... also wasn't. Egwene wasn't unbreakable in the books. That's a show invention. Because Breakbone Fever, she didn't heal herself, and also Breakbone Fever wasn't fatal, and it wasn't bonitis. It didn't break your bones.
I mean, it's supposed. Yeah, she's not. That's so weird that they blew their load too early. They keep doing it. Like, this experience is what's supposed to make her like hate giving in, right? Like this is her trauma. This is her abuse, and then she learns from the Aiel how to just never let that happen again, and that's why she gets her girl power moment later in the books where she becomes unbreakable. In that,
she was always a bit of a psychopath and a little bit crazy.
Yeah,
I think what the Seanchan gave her was so there's something noted in the books about forcing, where if you aggressively train someone, you can scale up their power a lot quicker than if they would normally. So there's different ways that both men and women acquire the power. And for men, it comes in fits and starts. And there's no real way of knowing what someone's ultimate potential is until it actually happens. That's noted, I think, in Crossroads of Twilight with Narishma, where Narishma's been bonded, but apparently he's been practicing the sword and doing stuff. And then all of a sudden, mentioned to Cadsuane that Narishma's now all of a sudden way more powerful than he was just like a couple of weeks ago. There's no way of determining what a man's ultimate power level is going to be.
Right.
Whereas with the women, you can kind of sense almost initially what their power level's at and what their potential is. But how quickly they get there can be a function of the training. And Egwene was what you call forced, but a large part of that was done while she was collared as a demone. And they basically forced her. And because she was done so in a link where there was no risk of her burning out, it was actually done without the risk of basically killing her, which is why Aes Sedai in the tower don't force their novices to bring them along quicker. This is kind of a long-winded way of saying that at the end of the day, the experience with the demone made a 16, 17-year-old Egwene more powerful quicker and a better user of the one power. And it gave her kind of that drive and motivation never to basically be enslaved again.
Yeah.
But it didn't give her the ambition or her duplicitous nature, because that's on full display with the Aiel. And then still the most disappointing thing I think about all of Egwene's character arc is when she finally has the realization and she takes ownership for her deception to the Aiel Wise Ones. You think, okay, she's grown as a character, but then she gets appointed as Amyrlin's seat in Saladar, and then she falls right back into duplicitous Aes Sedai behavior from the beginning. It's like she completely forgot everything about it, and she didn't reform the Aes Sedai whatsoever. If anything, she internalized all the worst aspects of that bureaucracy and came to epitomize it.
Yeah.
Just my opinion, but that's why I don't have a high opinion of Egwene.
I think I was more referencing the her scene when after she's captured by the White Tower and being tortured, and then harkens back to her training with the Aiel and just starts laughing while Elyda's
she's
whipping
able
her,
to embrace
and she
pain,
realizes there's nothing that you could do to me that would be worse than what's already happened.
Oh, but especially in the context of her being a demone for a time as well.
Yeah.
Right? Because I don't think even the Aiel could compare to like the beating that she took at the hands of Amis and Sorelia and the other wise ones. Nothing compared to what the Suldam entreated her to. So yeah, like she had.
But
she was
in the show she got kicked a couple times. So
well,
that's really, pretty traumatic.
The really sad thing about this is, yeah, I agree. This is definitely inspired by the books, and we can harken back to scenes from the books. But why is this one of the only things from the books? The only thing was
because she'll get a girl. She's going to get a girl power moment because of it, right? That's why it's trials, in That's why it was adapted faithfully. Yeah,
this is why they tried
roughly.
Why they tried to adapt this faithfully. They didn't succeed. But Ranmat and Perrin, their stories, they're not even trying to adapt it faithfully.
Oh gosh. Yeah, I complained about the Nynaeve testing scene ad nauseum, but like they completely misunderstand the entire point. Is that it's supposed to put her in a position where she has to choose, where she has to give up what she wants.
Stay or do I go? And
in literally in all three scenes, it doesn't matter. And
it all three. It's like, I got to get the hell out of here.
Yeah, they're trying to force her out, right? Like, all of my friends are dead. Well, of course I want to leave this reality. Or in the scene where she can't heal, like the whole point, her whole temptation for wanting to stay is that she's an Aes Sedai and she would be able to help these sick people. But in the show, she can't heal them. So, well, I might as well leave because they're going to die anyway. They just don't understand these core concepts.
I'm going to leave so I can bring help.
Yeah, that's what it was. You're right. Oh, so dumb. Lanfear is totally chill with him visiting his girlfriend. What is any of this?
This is where we hear Maigan Mixedai.
Right, doing her little mantras. I don't know how this is the stupid Binky. It looks so dumb.
Yeah, but I'm getting enamored of my whole idea that this is a detection Tur Angreal in her mouth.
Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense.
It had to have been a joke, right? Like,
do you want to hear the most messed up thing about this?
Yeah.
Okay, Tripp told me this actress, who's the Damani in the foreground, is 14 years old. So yeah, you got a 14-year-old with a pacifier and a collar, and you're parading around, and you're an industry that's, got a pretty big reputation for being pedophiles. So
they did it because it represents silencing these women. Right. If you want to do that, make it a muzzle, because that's horrifying. Don't make it look ridiculous. I genuinely don't understand how anyone on set could look at that and not break out laughing. It's the Loyal syndrome, right? It's the exact same effect. Like, it looks so silly. It doesn't make sense. The only way I could possibly rationalize that decision in my head is if it's Rafe Judkins saying, "Won't this be funny? We'll do a funny."
It's so unnecessary too.
Right. The whole thing with
this why she's not saying
the
anything?
whole thing with the IDOM is that they've been broken to the point of obedience. They don't need a thing in their mouth. They did use muzzles in the book while they were training.
Did they? I
believe so. There was a scene with a muzzle. Maybe not, but it would make sense in the training process, but not in an already broken Damani. Everything is handed to these characters. We're just going to practice on They could have like left the city to practice opening the IDOM, right? But they just do it in the middle. Hey, oops. And they know that Nynaeve like can't channel, and this happens later. They know that she can't channel unless she's angry, and they encourage her, no, go ahead and do it. And she obviously channels too much, and then it leads to the death. It's so silly. So freaking silly. I hate it. Moraine is back to just being the worst human on the face of planet Earth.
She turns down the ham and butter sandwich.
Well, he leaves it there, right?
I made this point too, but I don't want to.
I remember.
Sandwich.
Yeah.
Don't use the word sandwich. It's fantasy. There's no Earl of Sandwich. Don't, dumbasses.
There's a whole bunch of wilderness. Blah 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 blah. I want you gone. Yeah, I would too, dearest Suan. Yeah, so that's the thing. Like
she says she's stilled.
Yeah.
So we've all been wondering since like 2 years ago when Ishamael cut her off from the one power. Is this akin to what Lanfear did to Asmodean, where Lanfear shielded Asmodean so that only a trickle of one power went through it? But there are other characters like I believe Leandrin gets shielded by Moghedien.
Yeah,
she can't ever break through it, and so Leandrin's kind of cut off from the one power. But if that's the situation with Moraine, maybe one day the shield can get broken through, or you find someone else who can see the weaves and kind of dispel it or cut through it.
Right.
But if she's been stilled, Lan should be dead.
Yes.
Because the time that happens in the book series is Dumais Wells, Rand stills the 3 remaining sisters who are shielding him when he breaks out. One of them is green and had 2 warders. One of the warders died on the spot, and the other went suicidal as if his bond had been broken because the Aes Sedai was dead, and he went off to go fight 100 Aiel and got killed.
Right. I do not believe that Show Moraine is stilled. I believe that she's been shielded and it's been shielded and tied off, right? Because if you look at the pattern, the weave pattern in season 1, it what Ishamael does to her looks exactly the same as what the Aes Sedai are doing to Logain when they're shielding him.
So, do you think what she's writing there, she's just mistaken, like unreliable?
No, they don't know what they're doing, because if she was shielded, she would be able to see the shield.
No, not if in the show, maybe because they haven't separated. You're right. But it was a man doing it, so if it's a Sidian shield around. But again, that depends on the bifurcation of the one power, which they definitely haven't established in the show.
No.
So who knows what they're doing? But are they smart enough to write in Moraine as being an unreliable narrator, and would they do that?
I don't. I think it's giving him too much credit.
I know, because I think they're just dumb, and they basically also treat stilling as something that Nynaeve will just heal.
I think the intention is we want everyone to think that she's stilled, and then later on it's going to be a plot twist. Hey, turns out she was just shielded, and now she can channel again. But they haven't thought of any of the implications that would cause.
They can just do the Swan Sanche whole plot point, right? Who is stilled, and her and Leanne were stilled.
Did they just give it to her?
Yeah.
Then what do they do with Swan Sanche?
She'll get killed or something.
Right, because then she wouldn't have the problematic relationship with Gareth Bryn.
Who?
Gareth Bryn.
Oh, that's a book character.
Right.
We haven't even gone to Camelin. We don't know who that is.
No, I'm saying if they kill her off, then they wouldn't have that. Then they could also get rid of that problematic relationship.
Oh, where she does laundry for 7
right.
books. Yeah.
Where she what's wrong? Like these are the people that claim, that everyone should have their own sexuality, right? And everything is permitted, right? But they can't accept the fact that someone might be submissive, and that might be what they're into, because they claim that Siwan's relationship and Fail's relationship is problematic because they can't fathom that a girl might like that kind of stuff.
But at the same time, they've got no problem putting fetish gear on people, tying them up to wheels, and just showing everything but the spanking. But...
Oh dear.
And Trip is saying, ahem. Yeah, okay, we read you loud and clear, Trip.
But we see that I can't get the still to show, and I can't press play because I'll get demonetized. Oh, there it is. I got it. But so she's been receiving letters from Swansanche.
Yeah, it's fair to assume that they.
Well, it's not an assumption. Like this is the letter with the same still broken, and then cut to Swansanche making.
They had to get Logain to that insane asylum somehow, right?
Ah, right. Okay, that makes sense. So dumb.
Yep.
But we got to see Weave's Blades of Air, and that was so cool. Everybody creamed themselves on Twitter. Whatever. This just makes no sense. The timeline, the teleporting, it's so ridiculous. And Rafe Chickens has the freaking audacity to criticize Game of Thrones, right? Game of Thrones sucked. The last couple seasons sucked.
Oh, yeah.
And Rafe Judkins would be lucky if his show was anywhere close to Game of Thrones season 8. I
made it.
Game of Thrones
about this.
Look, Game of Thrones
is kind of my claim to fame. Let me see if I can find it.
Right. I know what you're talking about. But like
you don't want to show that on this family stream.
It's the horse. It's the horse.
Yeah.
But see, Game of Thrones, the last seasons of Game of Thrones, they suck because the first seasons were so good, right? Like,
and they ran out of.
They're not
book
like
material.
it's still like pretty good quality. It's just it was such a letdown because the bar was so high, right? There are legitimately stupid things that happen in the last seasons of Game of Thrones. Right? But it's still somewhat competent.
No, the final seasons of Game of Thrones are absolutely incompetent for a lot of reasons, including basically all of Jaime Lannister's growth was basically undone in the final couple episodes. Thrown out the window, goes back. They basically made
because Hollywood doesn't understand friendship.
Yeah, he banged Brienne and then decided, nope, she's ugly. I'm going to go back to my sister, kind of shit.
He pulls a lamb. He does the pump and dump.
They made the Mountain versus the Hound like the big climatic fight at the end. They made Varys an idiot who gets himself killed.
Yeah.
Daenerys goes insane, which might have actually been a legit plot point, but she goes insane for dumb reasons. The logistics make absolutely no sense throughout the whole final 2 seasons. It's very clear that they ran out of source material and they just kind of went willy-nilly and decided to do the rule of cool.
Just finish it up. Yeah.
Even the final battle at Winterfell, where they literally had, the cavalry charge an army of the dead, and then they all die. And then they had the artillery
they're still there.
Second line, and then they had the infantry behind. But they somehow still win because the only way they would have won is for the Night King to basically get killed. So why is the army of the dead sending the Night King
Doesn't make
in
sense.
the battle? Because this was their only risk?
Yeah. No, I agree that it's stupid. But I'm saying this is so much worse. Like it doesn't even hold a candle to the crappy episodes of Game of Thrones.
Like Wheel of Time was never good. It was always like season 8 equivalent.
Yeah,
which is the whole point behind my meme. But let's not kid ourselves. Season 8, even season 7 of Game of Thrones was terrible. Those people had absolutely no idea what they were doing. They were crap writers. It was obvious that as soon as they ran out of book material, the stuff just went off a cliff. And
they were good editors, but they were bad writers. That's why the first seasons worked. For that,
because George R.R. Martin was part of the writing team for the early seasons.
Yeah, that's true.
Right. And he wrote some of the episodes himself.
He wrote one episode each season, but I'm sure he was involved
until the fifth season when they told him to basically fuck off
and go finish the books.
But what's so egregious about Wheel of Time is that it was complete. The story's done. Like you had everything to kind of follow, and everyone kind of widely agrees the parts where Wheel of Time becomes problematic from a readership point of view is the middle. It's when the pacing slows down. It's when there's developmental edit problems from books 7 through 10, where the plot's not advancing, new characters are getting introduced. It just becomes too convoluted and too weighty, and it just gets too slow, and there's no action. But the first 6 books, they're basically strap in and hold on to your loins, guys, because this is going to be a wild ride.
It's fire.
So just adapt it faithfully. You got 6 great seasons of television.
I will say the slog is a whole lot less notable when you don't have to wait between books for release. I was able to just go through the whole thing. It does slow down, but it's not like I can imagine having to wait a year in between each one. It would be sloggy. Yeah,
it was 2.5.
Yeah,
2.5, and then worried it was never going to get finished. That's what it was at the time.
Right.
Anyways. Rant over.
Okay. We get a go scene, right?
Well, this at least is a hint of Stones, which is the way Stones is described in the books is very much like the game Go.
Right.
So
he plays Go by himself.
That's the idiotic part. Why do you play Stones against yourself?
Well, he's because he's crazy, so he has a fake friend to play with. That's what all men who channel get. They get a fake friend that talks to them.
He had 2 fake friends, but he can't channel anymore.
I don't know, but he's still crazy, so he probably still has a fake friend. So he plays Go, and then
wait, I thought he was suicidal.
Yeah, he is. I guess he's suicidal, but then he wants to show. He says this part pissed me off, because he says, "Rand, you're doing it wrong. You're surrendering to the one power. You need to seize control. Rand should be dead. Rand should be dead.
Can't surrender for a moment.
If you surrender to the male to Sidene, you die.
But again,
for a single second, you die.
You haven't established in the show that there is a Sidene and a Sidar.
I don't think they ever will.
And if anything, what they've established, at least among the women, is that there's multiple ways to tap the one power. So Egwene being angry and accessing it is no more different than the traditional way. Like, who knows what the hell they're doing? But again, don't assume they're doing anything right here.
Right. The one power is fluid. Got it. Yeah. It's non-binary power. But yeah, no, like I hated this. You can't surrender. Yeah, it's like they got a hint of the books and just didn't understand it at all. Because if he's surrendering to the one power, he'd be dead. Anyway, that's why I hate this scene. And he glows so bright. Oh, yay. And then he just leaves.
So
I don't...
Here's the funnier part about all this. Bear with me here. So
yeah.
One, I think all the Logain scenes were filmed probably on the same day.
Yeah, definitely.
So why he's always in the same costume, same location. Probably we were only able to import him for a day and they decided to film all this. But if this is the last time we see Logain and Rand goes on to basically finish off the season, become an expert one power user, seizes the power and does all this stuff, that'll mean Rand's training in the one power
is this one scene
for a grand total of 27 seconds.
Where all he learned to do was embrace the source properly.
And he can do anything then. So that'll be the culminate. That's all of Rand's training required. And Egwene's training, when she burns down the tree a little bit later on, that at least was 60 seconds. So
it was longer than this, wasn't it? Oh my gosh. Perrin's not even in this episode. much
No,
like
thank
Matt wasn't
goodness.
even in this one. Gosh, this was the one part I was shocked, and it's not book accurate at all.
No, 'cause it
But
didn't
getting to
happen,
just getting to see Rand and Matt in the same scene got me
and
emotional.
hugging. Yeah, I know.
They hugged, and
Yeah.
I was like, it made me so happy, and I knew that it wasn't going to last. I was like, I don't know why, because it was just pure nostalgia. I was like, the thing was, it was a tiny, tiny glimpse of what this show could have been.
But do you want me to ruin this scene for you?
I know it's not a good scene, but go ahead.
What does Matt go on to ask?
Where's everybody else?
Where's everybody else? Okay. Matt saw Egwene like 2 episodes ago.
You're right. He knows. Matt knows where more than Rand does.
Matt knows a lot more than Rand does because Matt got a letter read to him in a previous episode
He knows.
by Pern. Going with
Matt
the
knows where
Shinarans.
everybody is.
Yeah.
Wait,
So
Matt should already know that they think Rand is dead.
Yeah. You're not dead. Matt should not be like, oh, where's everybody else? Matt should be saying, oh, you're alive? What? I know where Egwene is, and they're in the White Tower. And Perrin's off at Eridaman with Shinarans. What? Should we go there? And
you completely ruined the scene.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. That's really bad.
Oh my gosh. Well, but I was shocked that I still had emotion, right? And I know it has nothing to do with it wasn't anything the show did. It's just that for a brief second, seeing them together on screen, it was a flicker. It was an alternate universe where I for a second saw the potential that this show had. It could have been a good show, and it made me happy, and then it immediately made me furious.
Imagine that this scene wasn't this, but it was the scene from the book.
Look at that!
Right? Where
that made me so happy.
Where Rand has the Horn of Valyr, he has the dagger, he found Tom, he's been getting invites and everything else. But then he goes back after a night of misadventure, and then he finds out like the whole inn is on fire. And he saves Loyal. He saves the dragon banner, which he's thinking about letting it burn, but he brings that with him too. He hauls everybody out of the inn. And then just at that moment, Ingtar, Varen, Perrin, Matt, Uno, all the other Shinarans show up, and he's finally reunited.
Yeah, would have been great.
You wouldn't have got this hug scene, but you would have gotten this is a reunion scene that happens in the Great Hunt. Wouldn't have that been better? Because
so much better.
Well, but you bring up a couple things too that definitely they make me even more disappointed because like you mentioned the flag, right? The banner. They haven't even mentioned that at all. They haven't brought it up. That was a huge part of the book where Moraine literally was like, "Look, if you lose this or destroy this,
but also, if you show it to anybody, you're dead too."
Yeah, like this is life or death. Like you need to keep this, but you'll know when to use it. Yeah. But then also that's frustrating because literally man. But I will also point out that this is what I'm talking about, though, that I really think some of the actors are actually really good. Like they're doing a good job at acting.
Matt's the only one I feel is able to sell it.
Yeah.
Donald Finn is the only one who believes he is Matt in the scenes and is convincing others in his performance that he's the Matt in this. Although the wrinkles around his eye, he looks honestly 35, if not a little bit older.
He's way too old.
But here's another thing that you're going to get pissed off about when I bring it up. You remember how the whole party travels to Fulma at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
They go to the portal stones. Varen says something a little bit circuitous, where she says your experience with these portal stones is more recent than mine.
Yeah.
And she says well, because I've never done this before, it's technically true. But Rand teleports them all but kind of messes it up, and he forces the whole party to live multiple lives. So you get a lot of Rand's lives, and it's all the flicker, flicker, I win again, Lewis there, and I win again.
So good.
So good.
Seriously.
But the most messed up part is right at the end of it, where you get something that might be a semblance of a Matt and Rand intimate moment, where Matt looks utterly devastated and swears to Rand he would never betray him. Because obviously Matt has gone through alternate lives where he's done horrible, horrible things.
Yeah.
And he can barely come to grips with it. And he kind of makes that would be a far more touching scene than this is.
Yeah, I agree.
Certainly would.
Even when the show does something right, all it does is remind me of something better in the books.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened to me. I was like, for a flicker, I was happy, and then just immediately became furious because of how bad it is.
Yeah.
But man, that made me really happy for a split second.
Oh yeah, and the other thing too that you mentioned too was Tom, like reuniting with Tom. Like, are they even going to have him this season?
Tom's not in the story anymore because Moraine's gay.
Tom's no longer needed.
I mean, he was in the first season, and we were all really excited, and then
I wasn't.
Well, I mean, okay,
we were still in the honeymoon phase. Okay.
Yeah.
We did a lot of simping for the show.
Yeah. But yeah,
don't you love that they let someone else? They showed another Gleeman who actually had it looked terrible, but he had a patchwork coat, but they couldn't even let Tom have. He had patches on the inside of his coat. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
And he had a guitar.
Yeah.
And he sang a song from the point of view of Lewis Theron. 3,000 years after the fact. Let that sink in.
Yeah.
The only way Tom's song makes any sense in this universe is that if Rand, after he'd gone crazy, had written it.
Yeah. Or if it was written by another incarnate. Oh, yeah. So dumb. Yeah.
Would like to see more of it, though. We need more time.
There is a heron mark, but it's not on the hilt.
No.
It's on the
but that's the thing too. I hate that they haven't done anything with that yet. Like,
well, there's supposed to be a heron on the handle.
Supposed to at least have one hand branded already.
Yeah, right, exactly.
I think. Although, as you were saying earlier, Jared, I think at the end of this episode, so episode 6 of season 2, we're finally at chapter 1 of the Great Hunt when the Amarlin seat shows up.
You're right. You're right.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's why this whole season's been weird, because like they'll do parts like this where I'm like, oh, okay, they'll set it up. Like, for example, that scene, right, where they're like, oh, okay, Rand and Matt are together. Okay, so that means, okay, Matt might actually blow the horn, right? Like, they might actually set it up where Matt somehow gets it. I don't know how he's going to get it at this point, but like, he somehow gets the horn.
Matt's not blowing the horn.
And then he blows it, right? And then like this one, okay, like, oh, well, we didn't have to start out seeing the Amarlin, so now we got to bring her in at the end. Right, so there's like little stuff like that where they do them, but they're like completely out of order. I'm like, what is happening?
My theory was that Brigitte is going to blow the horn and call herself into existence.
Oh gosh!
I wouldn't put it past these writers.
It's just so infuriating. Let's channel blah blah blah. More Egwene. More. Let's just stretch this out to infinity and not even do it well. And then let's have a scene where you burn
the tree.
But it's not the actual leash. Like, anyway.
Blah, blah, blah. She still can't channel, and then she gets kicked. Blah. Okay. You're right. That's all my happiness is gone now.
This is where Matt asks about the other people and then says, okay, I'm going to go for an hour and then I'll come with you, and then he doesn't.
Yeah, that was.
Oh, because he just needs to talk to Min or something. Yeah.
Just needs to let her know.
And I someone pointed out that he's just accepts that Rand is the Dragon Reborn, and he's like happy about it, which is like not what he should be doing. But
it's like the opposite of how Matt reacts to.
Yeah.
Well, I thought in the books that he was okay with it, but he was like, "Oh man, are you gonna go crazy? Like, oh, if you really can channel."
He's like, constantly ribbing Rand about all this, and then throughout like book 5, definitely, or early book 4, he wants to get away, but he feels tied to Rand, and so he's always kind of delaying. Like, what am I going to do? And it drives him to distraction to the point that he decides to go in through the doorway to Rongrial and talk to the Ilfin.
Yeah.
Whereas Perrin doesn't feel that at all, because the pattern has the plan for Perrin to go back to the Two Rivers and do what he does there.
Right.
But definitely then in Lord of I think it's it's Fires of Heaven, where they're doing the campaign through Kyrian, where Matt finally feels he can get away, and then he keeps running into like different Kyrian and then Tyran armies that are doing everything wrong.
Yeah.
And he basically ends up winning the battle.
Yeah.
So he ends up winning the battle for them
so much.
But that's Matt's thing. He kind of resents being tied to the dragon.
He's the reluctant hero, but he always ends up being the hero instead of abandoning his friends repeatedly. And we get drunk men. There's so much drinking in the show because we're edgy. We're drunk.
Well, she could have been banging, but she didn't have a sock on the doorknob.
Right. And so she tells him he can't go, so he has to abandon his friend.
Here's the messed up part about this. So it's twofold. One, how does Matt all of a sudden conclude that Min set him up? Because I don't think that's clear one way or the other.
No, it's not.
But also, if Min's visions are always supposed to come true, she knows any warning she gives is futile.
Right.
Perhaps, hey, Min, everything you said always comes true. Maybe you warning Matt not to go with Rand is precisely what sets him down this road.
Yeah. I'm sure they're actually going to have Matt stab Rand.
There's a
they're gonna, right?
On our Discord. Well, it could be Ishamael disguised with the mirrors of mist or whatever as
Ishamael
as Matt
giving her fake vision. Oh, Ishamael pretending to be Matt.
Because remember, Min's visions have changed, right? They're no longer the symbols and the weird interpretations.
Now she just sees stuff happening, much like Perrin's powers.
Yeah, Perrin's got plot vision going backwards, and Min's got plot vision going forwards. That appears to be the distinction. One is tied with wolves, and one is tied with being a circus freak. Good job, show. Moron talks to a butler
and sends a letter. Pretty.
She has a ring
pretty condemning, right? Like that. It seems like a letter. I don't know why she's giving this kind of information in a letter. It's pretty damning stuff. But
at least she compliments Barthanes on his jambon and beurre sandwiches.
You do make good sandwiches. Oh, it's so painful to watch. And they hug, and then she shows up.
Oh yeah, and Leandrin just happens to be there.
Well, no, all of the Aes Sedai are there. She has a coterie of 14 sisters.
Yeah, but she was just in the tower. Leandrin literally was just in the tower.
Well, yeah, that's why it makes no sense. Siwan would have had to, after meeting Rand on the road, travel back to the tower and then gather 14 sisters and then teleport to Kyrian.
Yeah, but in the previous episode, Lanfear rode on a horse from Kyrian all the way to Tarvalon in a night.
Yeah. Even though she complained saying horses are so slow and I should just be channeling, whatever.
Is there anything slower than a horse? You mean walking?
This scene pissed me off. Land shows up to stop Rand from leaving. I laughed so hard. I was like, okay, what's Rand doing? He's leaving, and then Lan pops up. I laughed so hard. I was like,
It would have been
I have no idea what we're doing.
If Lan came and said hello, that would have been funny. But they didn't do that, unfortunately.
Well, so
go ahead.
They have to keep him here to meet with the Amerlin seat. Is that what it is?
Yeah,
or no, because they know that if he goes to Falma. I hate. Why do they say Falm? It sounds so silly when they say Falm. It's pronounced Falma. Read the audiobooks, you dicks.
Dude, you're griping about that, and they called it Shadur Laguth for like all of
They did.
Yeah, I remember talking about that one last season.
Like, I accept that there are different pronunciations for different things among the fandom, like throughout.
Yeah,
some people have got kind of unique takes. Disparrow, I think, calls them the Aes Sedai.
Yeah,
rather than Aes. Whatever, it's fine. It's in your head, but that's the whole part
has
of it.
some funny pronunciations.
But the one thing that no one has ever said prior to the show was Shadur Laguth, because that's the easiest thing to read. And then when you go back to the glossary, if you're not 100% sure, it says Shadar Logoth. I got it.
And it sounds freaking cool that way. Shatter Logoth? Like what that's a cool friggin' name for a city.
Yeah.
So the only other like name that I don't think anyone's ever gotten wrong is Lan. And maybe Matrim. Matt's pretty easy. Lan is also easy. Shatter Logoth, easy. Mogadine versus Mogedian, I'll forgive you.
Yeah, well, in the audiobook they use both. Yeah, the audiobook has about 5 pronunciations for Mogideon.
Well, especially if it's Kate versus
but even
early books versus later books, and how it kind of evolved over, because obviously like you hear the one book, and then if Robert Jordan listened to it, he'd probably then call them up and give them pointers about actually it's pronounced this way, or this way.
Yeah.
So but Kate Redding and what's his name, they obviously tried. The show, I don't know, but this is Rand trying to leave Faldara, but he's trying to leave Kyrian, and it's the same thing. You can't go.
There's one point in the books where Kate Redding pronounces it Mogadin, and I'm like, Mogideon, Mogden. You're like, what is this?
Well, and you can tell too at this part, like they're clearly bringing Lan back so that he can actually teach him how to fight with a sword.
No, he doesn't need Lan to teach him how to fight with the sword. He
I
was taught to fight the sword by that crazy guy.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
And
he already has the sword training.
That's what's going to happen if you look at the episode 7 preview, where Lan reaches for him and Rand spins away. It's basically, haha, I've been taught by Errol. I don't need you anymore. I'll land Mandragoran.
Like, this was so painful. How do these people know that? Are they trying to keep him there for Suan, or are they trying to keep him from going to Falma, because that would mean that Lanfear gets what she wants? How do they know that Suan Sanchez there?
Alana was just in the courtyard with Suan Sanchez.
Right, because Lan met her on the road.
Yeah.
So silly.
But Alana's literally in the previous courtyard scene. You can look for her in that. She's one of the
You're
green
right. She's
ones.
right there. She's right there.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. I missed that because I was just so flabbergasted at how.
Yeah, don't worry about it. The show sucks. I'm just autistic.
And then they just do this stupid stuff, get caught.
So here's something I need to point out. The 3 of them channeling into the same thing, if they're not linking, what are they doing?
I don't know.
Because they're just individually testing it at the same time. But they wouldn't.
It doesn't make a lot of sense, and that's a really good point. Yeah, they're not linked up. They're just.
And when they ask for Nynaeve to add her power to it, that also doesn't make sense. because
they would have had to be linked.
Well, for detection purposes, it wouldn't matter if like the three
They're
of them
all doing
were
it individually,
each channeling a trickle, because what would get felt is the power usage in the aggregate.
Mm-hmm.
So it's dumb, but this whole show is dumb. So whatever.
Yeah. Jared, your brother pointed out 2 years ago, when we were speculating, he talked about the show, the Discovery of Witches.
Yeah.
And I went and I hadn't watched the show, but I watched the scene that he was talking about.
It's cool, huh?
It looks so much better. They have a magic scene where they like tie magic threads together.
Yeah.
It's exactly what channeling should have looked like in
right.
Yeah. And
it was cool.
Having watched that and going back and watching this, it's so silly.
Well, I mean, because they literally talk about weaving and the threads of it, and like, and then they don't do anything about that, you know? And so it's like,
it's just generic hand motions.
Yeah.
Silly. Hate the show.
I agree that it was really well done in that particular scene.
And then this was the scene that we were so excited and we couldn't tell anyone about for 2 whole years.
It
was so short too.
Draw attention to yourself, being like, I'm the source of what you felt.
It's like
do a little bit of blasting and then run and try and escape.
Right. Doing it like this, I don't know how anyone could watch this interaction and not think this is like a setup. Like she's trying to hide something, right? Because she's being so stupid.
Or did she think she would actually be able to fight them all and win?
I don't know.
Because if that was your plan, right? We're just going to fight them and win. Why not bring Nynaeve and Elaine with you, just as like insurance, right? Oh yeah, I can handle all these.
No, it was clearly implied that she was suiciding.
Yeah,
it was a sacrifice. She was falling on the sword for them to protect them.
But if she's doing that,
because she gives them the ring.
Why does she? Why? Okay, true enough. But why does she then get so fearful of being collared and want to get killed?
I don't know. You're asking really good questions that I don't have the answers to.
I can't wait for Alex to review this, and then it's just going to be like, "Stop asking questions."
Stop asking.
He's just going to cut that in all the time.
See, that just looks like
why is she stop asking questions?
These don't look like threads, man. Go Google just Google magic scenes from Discovery of Witches, and you'll be like, oh, like that. It looks really good. Yeah. And this looks like crap. And okay, Queen's channel, blah 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 blah. We get this wonderful, the one-handed, picks her up with one hand. I identify as someone who can pick you up with one hand. Whatever.
Wait. Can you go back to Fat Warder? What does he have written on his face?
I don't know. It's silly. It looks like scarring.
Yeah, but he's got the letter E on that cheek there. So
it probably says Falm.
Good God. You're probably right. I wrote the name of the city he's supposed to be in on his face. Good job, show.
Yeah. Why not link like they did in season 1 and kill everyone? It's a really good point. Really good point.
Gadfly's right, because the granted, Amalisa wasn't accepted, but those other 2 that they found hardly contributed anything to the flow. You just tap into like the Nynaeve battery.
And everyone will think that she's the one doing the chat. They could still hide, right?
They would have defeated the entire Shanshan Empire. Oh, man.
Oh, boy. If she was going to self-suicide anyway, you know, like, this is bad. The acting is really bad, too. I hate the materialization of these collars. It makes it kind of defeats the purpose of the Shanshan. That
it's Iron Man is what it looks like.
Yeah, well, and their whole thing is like they're kind of against channeling. This is clearly like some kind. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense, but it looks cool, so we're gonna do it.
No, but in the broader context, it doesn't make sense. But it would be cheaper just to like use a dog collar,
right? You could save a whole lot of money and make your channeling look less crappy by just doing a collar. Also, the visual of a collar and a chain is a lot more imposing than whatever this crap is. And then she
touches the water.
She gives in. She does a thing. And don't you know it? I was a sitter for the Blue Aja.
I was a sitter for the Blue Aja.
I was a sitter for the...
I want to hear Jared try this.
Go, Jared. Do it.
You're muted still, bud.
The sitter for the Blue Aja?
That's pretty good. Not bad at all.
Jared's okay with accents.
The show makes my Irish turns into a Scottish real fast too, so that's
the same accent.
Anytime I do Scottish, it turns into Irish. So I can't do
same
Scottish.
People. There's no differentiation between the two.
If we're talking historically, there were several differences. They kind of fought. Really. They kind of fought wars against each other because they were different.
Really. Well, it's all clan stuff, but I mean the Gaelic Irish colonized the Scots in like the 900s or whatever. It's the same people, linguistically, ethnically.
You're talking to someone who's related to William Wallace. Like, okay.
I'm Scottish too. Everybody is. Scots got around.
I know they did.
It's all good.
No, I'm also Irish though, so it's I'm both. I really can't contest your argument.
Same thing.
Oh, yeah. This show makes me depressed.
Consensus is, I think it was the best episode of the season, but that doesn't mean it's not good.
It's a very low
still
bar.
Like a 1 out of 10. But that's only because like the first 5 were 0 out of 10.
It's so funny to me that the best episode of the season is the one that lost the number 1 slot.
Yeah, but number 1 on Amazon.
On Amazon.
Yeah.
Or the Wheel of Time Twitter bragging about their certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes for season 2 because they eliminated 70% of the reviewers from season 1. Did you see that?
The reviews have just dropped. I think the certified or the like top reviewers, it's like 50-50. But we all know Rotten Tomatoes is like garbage as far as actual scores, and the better thing to look at is just like the engagement and how it drops from one season to the next, and it's already down like 70%. And honestly, being the top show on Amazon, that's a very low bar to hit, because I'm looking here at the Nielsen stuff for the week prior to Wheel of Time season 2.
Be generous. Do it when they were still number 1.
But there's no Amazon show in the top 10. So to be the top Amazon show, and if they're able to breach the top 10, all they would need was like 350 million minutes, which would already be less than half of the minutes that season 1 got for the first 3 episodes.
I'm seeing that from September 4th to the 10th, it was number 10
on Nielsen.
I don't know what this is coming from. I'm just looking at Disparu's Twitter because I was looking for his other tweet.
All right, yeah. He might have better sources, but this would be interesting to see.
I don't think it's Nielsen, but he makes a very funny point that it's directly underneath some show about a bat mitzvah.
Yeah, I've seen this is an unreliable metric source. This is it's like it was on our Discord. We saw that one already, but yeah, it's even then it's not good.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming on the show. Super fun talking to you.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Here's the one.
You guys have fun?
I had a whole lot more fun talking about it than watching it. This was the one I was talking about. So 5,000 audience reviews for season 1, and 60% of them liked it. And then 1,000 reviews. So 4/5 of the reviewers just stopped watching the show.
Okay.
Of course, the number's going to be higher because the people left are the people who liked season 1.
Let me see if I can find this for you.
Absolutely insane.
Oh man.
And they posted that like the week after Rotten Tomatoes was caught in that huge scandal of paid reviews.
I got something to share with you. I don't know if you've seen this yet. But if you want to understand my level of autism, let me make that bigger.
This is impressive.
This is beyond messed up, is what this is. Because I went into Rotten Tomatoes and I basically inputted all the reviews by date in Excel.
Wow.
And then it had basically a timestamp associated with it.
Okay. Is this season 1 or 2?
This is season 1.
Okay.
So then I have and I think the second slide here, if I have, no, I don't have the second slide on this one. So this is a rolling 100 average. And if I did this not by date, obviously most of the reviews, like more than half, came in the first 3 seasons, like the first week is when most of the reviews came in. So that's when all the shills were at. But what this allows when you're looking at a rolling 100 average is you can see kind of the more recent view over time. And what basically happened is, okay, first episodes come out, everyone's shilling super, super hard.
Right.
Then they shill even harder. It reaches kind of a peak.
Step in heaven.
Up there. And then you get the Steppen episode and everyone's kind of cluing in, oh, this is bad. After episode 7, they work really, really hard to get everybody excited. But then at episode 8, you just see it fall off a cliff to the point where it actually hits at like a bottom out of 1.25 was the average score for the previous 100 reviews.
Wow.
And bear in mind, the lowest...
So this is the same 100 reviewers, right?
No. So this is the audience score, but it's the most recent 100 audience reviewers of the show.
Got it. Okay.
But what that means there at that bottoming out part is you can't give less than half a star.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no way to actually drive the score to 0. The lowest possible score that any show could get is 0.5.
And it's if every single person.
And this got within 0.75 of the lowest possible score. I went through the Excel and I calculated what was the maximum. And I think at a certain point there was 60 out of 100 that gave it 0.5 stars in a grouping, which is insane when you think of it, because even like 5 people giving it 5 stars would just drive the average right up. Mm-hmm. But the response to this in the wake of the finale was so damn negative. Like this is basically the poster for the fan base completely abandoned the show after season 1. It's completely done.
That's crazy.
Well, yeah, it is crazy because I manually inputted 2,872 audience reviews.
Yeah, that's a crazy thing to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. But interesting data.
It's very interesting.
Wow.
Even on Gadfly points out that even on IMDb they only had a 1% increase in reviews from season 1 to 2. Meanwhile, Rotten Tomatoes, they just get rid of all the low reviews.
Well, I noticed that too, because I was going back to it and updating it, and I was like, all right, where did I leave off? And I try and find like the chain of like, all right, I left off and I had a 3-star, 2-star, 1-star, 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 2-star, 5-star. Try and find out, okay, oh, I had these guys, but they were deleting reviews, especially the negative ones, left, right, and center. Yep. It would not surprise me that like half the half-star reviews that were leveled on this show basically just purged.
It's like with when YouTube was undoing dislikes on the Rings of Power trailers.
Yeah,
I had to manually dislike that video like 6 times.
Well, everybody clued in, and then they realized how you could just write comments, and then you had the most wonderful thing ever.
So great. Like... See, that was Rings of Power woke people up. It really did.
When Galadriel said, "You mean I could dodge bullets?" Such chills.
It's a great meme, and it's translated to all of these other shows now. I love it. But I think
no, says Elrond, when you're ready, you won't have to.
Amazon, because the viewership of Wheel of Time is so small, Amazon still thinks they can get away with. I mean, they clearly think that they can still get away with silencing opposition because that's what they've been doing. And it's
this is their marketing strategy. They aren't marketing in the positive way of trying to convince people to watch it. They're just silencing dissent, and I really resent it at this point because getting back to kind of what they're doing, I think what they're doing is legitimately evil.
I 100% agree. And I think that they are evil.
That there's no other motivation for doing this other than spite at this point.
Oh, massive feedback there. It's over.
Spite about a story that was better, spite about maybe the person individually or what they don't like about it. But there's no other way to explain this type of malevolence. And this is the one IP that I give the most about. So I don't try and insert myself into other areas of the culture war, but I think on this, I can be a voice in favor of the original books and encourage people to read those books and explain why the themes and the messages of those books were so great, and point out exactly what this show is doing wrong and speculate as to why and call them out and try and hold them into account. And if they're doing underhanded legal loopholes to try and silence our channel, but also yours, TechMex, and others like Nerdporial or Prophet of the Dragon or Salty or the Ren Nerd, I don't think they're going after Disparu or Shadiversity. Maybe
they're too big.
They're definitely going after the Sword and the Pen, which is a real shame, because what she does is just absolutely fantastic. But it's impolite, it's underhanded, it's despicable, and it's in service for evil ends. So people that are doing this, you should reevaluate your life, and if this is the company that you work for, maybe you should quit. That's my view. But you know what? I can look at myself in the mirror. I don't know how you guys can.
Yeah, I can see most of myself in a mirror. I'm a little wide, but
you just got to buy a taller mirror sometimes.
I need to buy a wider mirror.
Yeah, not too wider, taller, wider mirror. Yeah. You just gotta buy a mirror that's your size.
my speculation is Rafe Judkins is pretty anti-Mormon. He's from Utah and was raised he was raised in a Mormon culture and is very much not that in his lifestyle
anymore.
Well, he was never like baptized in the church, but a lot of his family is. and he's very like anti-Mormon now, and it probably has something to do with the fact that Brandon Sanderson is a Mormon, and maybe didn't like that he finished the books. It's a bit of a stretch.
That seems really weird because those two seem to actually be like somewhat chummy in things.
Well, I mean, Brandon Sanderson was completely cut out of all of the rewrites, and they ghosted him. He's kind of salty about it.
As much as he's going to get, because Brandon Sanderson's like the most nice, polite individual on the planet.
Right. He's way too soft.
In part, but I think it goes beyond, because Brandon Sanderson didn't write the early books. They're butchering the early books. They're not butchering the later books.
It's probably not like the sole reason, but it might be a factor.
But it's the traditional values, right? It's what are the key themes and messages of the Wheel of Time? It's small town values, gender roles that are important, but that they're complementary, right? I mean, the Two Rivers has a village council and a women's circle. Both of them think they're in charge, but really it's the both of them working together is when things go right. That's the key theme of Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time, is you need both men and women. Men and women are different, but when they work together, things work out.
Well, it's being adapted by people that
honestly couldn't answer the question of what if Mazrim Tayyim, who is going insane from channeling the one power, Saidin, decides one day to declare that he identifies as a woman and therefore would channel Saidar and not go insane. Yeah,
they can't answer that question.
They can't answer that question. And those types of people should not be anywhere near this IP. Yeah, and sadly, they're put in charge of it. The lunatics are in charge of the insane asylum.
Yeah. I had a point, but your point was so good I forgot it.
I'm sorry.
It's the legitimately one of my favorite parts from the entire series is when Rand sleeps with Aviendha and then freaks out so much so that he proposes to her like I'm so sorry, like I didn't mean to, I don't want to shame you, so I will marry you. Like, I love that, like, old school morality. And of course we can't have that in this show.
Well, but it's similarly. So when we complain about Alana getting double penetrated, and people come back and say, well, is it okay for Rand to have a harem? And you go,
no.
Well, what are you talking about? He doesn't have a harem. He's got 3 women in love with him, and he bonds all 3 of them. But just go back to how that was treated in the books, right? In Winter's Heart, Rand goes to the Palace of Caemlyn. He gets confronted by the 3 women that he's in love with. He admits that he's in love with all 3 of them. Nynaeve blows her top and flips out and can't believe he would say something like that. Rand is completely ashamed of himself for being a lecher. But it's the women who take charge and say...
And then they go have a meeting and work out a schedule.
Exactly. But Rand never... Yes, he has the, like, I'll teach you how to swim in the waterwood fantasy with all 3 of them. But he's never in bed with all 3 of them. It's never lewd. It's never kind of gross. And to be honest, it's like, dude, look what he has to go through. Having 3 hot chicks in love with him, that's like the least that the universe could do to make up for what he has to go through.
Well, and it works in the books because they all help him with different things. Like, they all provide him a different kind of support that he needs at different parts in the books. And it's good. It's wholesome.
And if you're wondering, well, why isn't there a female character that has the equivalent? Good point. Why don't you write your own fucking story?
Yeah.
That's what you want to see.
Anyways. But the books are problematic and they need to be fixed. So
they're not that old. And you know what?
They're not.
The books aren't. Their ideology is problematic. That's the issue. And even if that was your view, if you don't like the books, why are you even adapting it?
Mm-hmm.
If you don't like them, why are you even touching them? Why don't you just
Right.
leave them alone? Why don't you write your own thing? Why don't you drive something? You don't need to take someone else's
no one would
work
watch it. No one would watch it. So
and no one buys into
to
their
get an
ideology
IP
to
that already
begin with.
exists and insert their ideology because it's the only way that they can get people to listen to them.
And I resent it, and I'm going to call them out on it, and I'm going to call them evil for doing it, and I'm going to call them scumbags for doing it, and I'm going to say they should be ashamed of themselves, and I can't believe they can look at their reflection in the mirror.
Mm-hmm. I remembered the point.
I am offended by these people.
Same. It's very offensive what they're doing. I remembered the point that I forgot, and it's that everyone says that the books are very feminist, and yeah, there is a lot. Robert Jordan was kind of progressive, right? Like he has a lot of he alludes to a lot of things in the books, right? Like Brand in a polyamorous relationship, and lots of the sisters are in or do have lesbian relationships, right? Like it's a little bit woke, and there's plenty it's mostly
like
female
Wesleyan
characters.
College, like it.
Yeah.
It's
no, I understand, but like there is he's a little bit progressive, right? But to argue that the books are feminist, I would completely counter. I think that the books are inherently anti-feminist because it establishes well hear me out. It establishes that the world is a matriarchy, and it's just as bad as, but like they're making the same mistakes. So like I think it establishes that men and women are different and equally flawed.
Yeah, and they need to work together. That's his central theme. So it's feminist insofar as it actually highlights the need for women.
Yes,
a lot of book series prior to this.
I don't consider that feminism. I'm talking about corrupt feminism.
Well, so it's this discussion now about different waves of feminism. So what people say is this is a very second wave feminism, but it hasn't absorbed the lunacies of the third and the fourth waves of feminism.
Right.
If you want to dive into it. It was basically is an elevated role for women in the books, but you're absolutely right. Where women basically exclude men, they end up making all the same mistakes that
with the White Tower. The White Tower is horrible.
Right. All the same mistakes of any type of patriarchy. And it's not a feminist story because there are examples of cultures that are matriarchies. There are examples of cultures in the books that are patriarchies. There are examples that are a bit of both. And the ones that work the best are the ones that are a bit of both. But that's the key theme is, and you see it at almost every level. Nynaeve is horrible when you read her and she's separated from Lan. She's a complete utter cow to Elaine for two books in books 4 and 5. Once she finally shacks up with Lan in book 7, all of a sudden she turns into everybody's favorite character down the stretch.
And she helps him too. He's arguably not suicidal, but like not making the smartest decisions, and she's able to see that when he is not, and she saves his life.
And similarly, like, well, I don't want to draw the parent-Fail relationship into this because that was always messed up. Matt's not a really good example.
I love it though. Because people have different relationships. Rand and Min are wonderful.
They're closer to each other than Rand's relationship with Aviendha and Elaine because those really don't get too much treatment in the books. For the most part, he's with Min throughout. But like she's the one who kind of keeps him somewhat sane, like at least able to function throughout a lot of the books. Like that's why Min gets a lot of props.
And when that's taken away, it's not good.
But here's it. What's the Aja that everyone hates? It's the red Aja. They don't have warders, whereas the Ajas that we do like, they do have warders. So they have men involved with them. Like it's all men and women working together is the key theme of the book. It's.
Can you imagine?
Why is the world messed up? It's because the male half of the source is tainted. Why did the War of Power or the War Against the Shadow? Why did that fail so much? Is because men and women couldn't work together, and the men had to go and seal the bore, and it was done incorrectly. And the correction at the end of it is
you got to work together.
got to work, and he links with Nynaeve and Moraine, with Kalendor, and fixes what was done the previous time. Like, there's a beautiful message throughout all of this, but what there's no place for is for the person who says, I don't want to be a man anymore, I'm going to be a woman, and therefore I can switch the power. So because he did gender essentialism, and it's very key to his world building and his magic system, all of a sudden in 2023 it's problematic, but in 2007 it wasn't.
Then don't adapt
Then don't adapt it.
I know.
If you,
but it's intentional. They want to adapt it so they can fix it. Yeah. I think it's all perfectly summed up. The difference in like the message, the worldview in the books and the worldview in the show is the scene where, in season 1, where Logain is brought before the White Tower, right? And in the show, it's played off as, you are a vile, disgusting human male, and we're gonna torture you for eternity.
This is
for
my
dreaming.
World, my city, my island, my world.
Right, for dreaming of touching the power, and we're gonna use you as an example. And like in the books, it's like, hey, look, you caused a whole bunch of trouble, and we're going to stop it now, and then we're gonna do our best to keep you alive. And in the show, like they legitimately can't understand that Sho Suwan is an evil person, because they don't know what good and evil is. But on the other point of
Min, characters they portray with sympathy are the Dark Friends. It's
yeah, really, no, it's insane. It's crazy.
It's weird.
But can you, on a lighter note, can you imagine the Min scene from, oh dear, is it Gathering Storm? Where
Semirhage?
I believe it's Gathering Storm, where Min is, where they're trying to force Rand to kill Min.
Yeah, it's Gathering Storm. When Semirhage gets the
Semirhage. Yeah, she gets the male item on Rand and tries to get him to kill Min. Just imagine that scene with the current cast. I can't, like, it doesn't I would do it. I would kill Min.
You already sold me so off.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work.
Yeah, but there's going to be no Semirhage. That's why I ran you through the different Forsaken. She's not in this. And I honestly thought Moghedien was going to get cut rather than Missana, because
Moghedien is kind of problematic.
Well, they just won't have the rape scene, I guess. But Missana is the one Forsaken that
rape
that Egwene gets, right? So Egwene takes care of Missana in the books, so they wouldn't cut her because that's Egwene's boss moment,
right?
But I was wrong.
Oh man, there are so many just wonderful moments from the books that we'll probably never see on screen, and it's a little saddening. But maybe if we get rid of the show fast enough, I don't know. Maybe there's
my whole ambition with the White Cloaks channel is essentially, let's drive the market value of this IP for adaptation into the ground, and then we could buy it with a super chat for like $3.50.
Yeah. See, I wish Elon Musk would start making movies, right? Instead of buying Twitter, I think he should start a production company and just do faithful adaptations.
Yeah, we had one tech billionaire who was supposedly a fan of certain IPs named Jeff Bezos try that, and look what we got. I wouldn't trust Elon Musk at the wheel of time either.
Well, we need someone to do it. We need someone to just make faithful adaptations. Who else would it be if not for our Lord and Savior Elon Musk?
Yeah, but I'm semi over the whole concept of, okay, we need a video or a TV show adaptation of a book series. Like the books are there. I'm more offended that they're just getting perverted in a different medium. I'm not that upset of like, oh, this could have been great as an adaptation. I'm over all of that. I don't want my favorite books adapted into film.
Yeah, see, I still haven't given up on that though. I do admit though, I feel that same vein in that I mean that's why I've been reading so much. This year I think I've read 45 books, and it's been so much more enjoyable than anything that's been on television this year.
If Hollywood goes on strike forever and all this stuff basically just disappears and we all rediscover books,
nothing of value will have been lost. Yes.
No, none at all. And I'm over it. Like I get the impulse, and I get like, oh, wouldn't this look cool, or do it in this?
Oh, man, but
it's natural to do. But
and there's wouldn't you want to see Demise Wells on screen?
Depends who's doing it. That's my realization now. Depends who's doing. Would you want the Rafe Judkins?
Obviously, no. I don't want Rafe Judkins touching.
Exactly.
But if you could see it on screen though?
But what do you think you're going to get?
You can't say
in the modern context. I am so jaded.
Yeah,
it's like maybe 1 out of 1,000 showrunners, directors, or whatever would do it right. But odds are it would just get butchered.
Yeah,
it would be worse than nothing. Especially modern Hollywood. So until there's a seismic shift in that entire industry, I don't want to see anything that I like adapted by these people.
True.
Because they're evil.
Well, let's make the shift then, so that we can get back to good stuff.
Well, let's write our own stuff.
Yeah, let's write our own stuff.
Never let Hollywood touch it.
It's a good idea.
Even if they come at us with bags of money, sorry, I'd rather look at myself in the mirror.
Yeah, to what profiteth a man if he gain the world and lose his soul, right? Anyway, we've been talking for way too long, but wow, I just looked at the time and I haven't looked at the clock this entire show. Thank you so much for coming on. I love talking to you.
Blast.
You can come back anytime if you want to commit 4 hours of your life again. Normally we hover around 2.
There's a lot to say, I guess. But
yeah.
No, Alan, thanks for having me. Jared, thanks for bearing with me. This was actually a lot of fun. As you guys can tell, I can chat about this book series.
You really
can.
The
shitty show for hours. But let's keep the fight going. I definitely believe you're going to get through this strike. Keep making the videos that you're doing. Don't be intimidated by these people.
No,
we know what their strategy is. We know what their whole game plan is. It's sick and disgusting. I should write a letter to them as a shareholder and tell them to knock it off. So
you should. That'd be great.
It'd be fun. I'll have to invent a letterhead, but
yeah, it's always scary. But I've always told myself like I should never be intimidated into not telling the truth.
It's pure fair use. It's everything that we review. If you add a voiceover of it, you're splicing in funny clips and you're making a point. The whole copyright action is being like, can someone view your material and therefore glean everything that they would have gotten had they watched the actual show?
No,
so
our
rewatches are close to that, except our rewatches take 6 times longer than the actual show because we pause all the time. But when you're taking a couple second clips here and there and making fun of it, it's pure fair use, and they're abusing the copyright strike mechanism in order to silence us and shadow ban us. In the time being.
I actually put that in my disputes because one of the points is like, does this serve as a replacement for the source material? I'm like, you would be hard pressed to find someone who liked the show who would watch my video instead. It does not serve the same purpose. It serves the antithesis of the purpose of the show.
Yeah, so, which is why you got the strike, because at the same time they're not striking show shills.
No.
So
there's
a
lot of
supportive
stuff
of the show and doing a lot of clips and being like, oh, I love this or I love that or I love 90% of it, but here's what I didn't like. They're all getting skating by fine. They're deliberately going out anyone with a critical view, and they're trying to silence us. So it's evil. But I mean,
I won't. I refuse to be silent. And if my channel disappears because of it, so be it. That's what.
Start it up again. We'll get your subs back in no time.
If it happens, then I guess that's part of God's plan for me. So, that's it.
Close the door, but it'll open a window.
Yeah, well, maybe it's a big window, so you can jump. I can jump out of it, and then I'll be dead, and I won't have to watch the Wheel of Time anymore.
There's always a bright side.
Let's end on that note. Don't do the game end, people. It's not worth it. Your life is better than the Wheel of Time. Thank you so much for coming on. Be sure to check out Dean Bornholt's wonderful series, his book club. You're still on book 1, right?
Yeah,
because you take forever, and you go and each 5-hour video is discussing one chapter. I haven't watched all of them,
but you're going.
I've watched some of it.
We're doing every 2 weeks, but I've just been really busy with work, so we had to skip the last week. So in October, we'll pick up the book cloaks again.
It's really good.
I'm also doing my drunk reviews of the show as it comes out, and then Alex is doing his reviews, and Pips is doing his other stuff, and maybe we'll do a rewatch one day. But I really don't want to rewatch season 2. But we're all anticipating that when the show gets canceled, we'll have a dance party. So that'll be a fun video.
I'll join. Yeah. But yeah, you do have a whole lot of insights and like deep analysis from the books that I did not get the first time. So check it out. Check out the White Cloaks channel. Go watch their video that was wrongfully stricken in the prime of its life. It was very quick. Yeah, was it like a day old?
It was 2 days.
It got 2,000 views in 2 days, which is pretty good for your size channel. That's very impressive.
And we got a comment from Shadiversity, so it was getting somewhere. And that's kind of right exactly when we got the strike and it got halted. And then all of your videos, we just haven't recovered from it as far as traffic. But I mean,
no, like I'm completely delisted right now. Yeah, it's well, yeah.
Evil. Anyways,
we'll be back next week. Hey, the highlight is that our regular Jared wasn't on the show today, so we didn't have to talk about Ahsoka.
Thank God.
I stopped watching. I couldn't get past episode 1. So
I don't think you're missing anything.
No. I saw the stills. I saw that there's Space Jesus now. And he's wearing chainmail made from the dog tags of stormtroopers that he's killed.
All right.
First off, chainmail doesn't make sense in a Star Wars universe, but whatever.
I'm just gonna nope out of this.
Yeah. Anyway, I get that's it's actually been kind of entertaining to just guess what's going on in the show from what I see on Twitter. It's been kind of fun. So. Well, we'll see you guys next week. Thank you so much. Check out White Cloaks channel, and I don't know, go support independent media, or go write a book yourself, and publish it yourself. I've got close friends who wrote a book. Go watch that video on the channel, and their second book is coming out soon. So just find something that's better than garbage and consume that instead. Bye, everybody.
Have a good night.
And now it is time to say goodbye.
We had a great conversation.
It's been fun. But all good things must come to an end, and the goodest ending I can think of is...
right now, this moment, this night.
So I guess we just say goodbye.
So, goodbye.
Toodaloo. Au revoir. Auf Wiedersehen. Ciao. Ding dao day. But come back next week for more outrageous bloopers.
This is the end.
Well, there's only one thing left to do.
I'm gonna go home and sleep with my wife.